Right, this is the Black Book Show in collaboration with Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. I am the host of the Black Book Show. So my name is Makonnen Sankofa, as Auntie Jean said. I've been doing the Black Book Show for 2.5 years now. And in the last 2.5 years, I'm proud to say that I've had around 250 authors of African heritage that have been on this platform, some in the UK, other parts of Europe, some in the Caribbean, some in Africa, Canada, Australia, USA, and some other countries that I haven't mentioned. For those who are not familiar with the Black Book Show, it's a monthly event that takes place every single month, and authors get a certain time slot to talk about their book. So this evening, you're going to be hearing from a wide variety of authors of different genres. Some will be talking about maybe culture, history, finance, dating. In general, we have authors of different genres. So you will hear people speak about different topics. The authors will be talking, some of them will be talking for 10 minutes, 15 minutes or 5, but they'll be talking about their books. We also have, people that have got other services to offer, such as, publishers and booksellers. Later on, Sister Lejet from Nubian, the guest book, she's not author, but she's a bookseller. She'll be speaking about, what she does. As well as being, the host of the Black Book Show, I am an author myself, so I've written 3 books. I've got The Rise of Rastafari, Resistance, Redemption, and Repatriation. And fittingly, this book was actually launched at Auntie Jean's African Culture Market in 2019. So it's quite fitting that now this is the home of the Black Book Show. My second book is called Life in Gambia, the Smiling Coast of Africa, which is about my time living in the Gambia. I've lived in the Gambia twice, and it talks about my experience living in the Gambia. And my latest book, called How to Market and Sell Your Book, a Guide for Beginners, is a book which basically, as it says on the tin, it gives people a guide, of how they can, particularly authors or aspiring authors, how they can increase sales, and also how they can turn their book into business if they want to do that as well, and how they can market their book. So I'm gonna now, begin the Black Book Show by introducing the first author. The first author that's going to come on is Wayne Hinds. Wayne Hinds, he's the author of the book called Reclaim Your Digital Gold. Now, Wayne, when you come on, if you just start by saying, where you're based, because there's people from different parts of the world that are going to be on the show this evening. And I am actually I'm currently in Ghana. So I would just like to say this is also a special show for me, because this is, I presented the Black Book Show in Gambia before. I'm now presenting it on Ghana. So it's great to be hosting, the Black Book Show from the continent of Africa itself. So Wayne, if you would like to just come on now and, tell us about your book, Reclaim Your Digital Gold.
Right. Thank you very much, Makonnen. And Jean, thank you for the great work that you guys are doing with regard to Black authors and promotion. This is really a tremendous platform. My name is Wayne Hinds, and I'm coming to you from Toronto, Canada. And I'm just going to share my screen here so we could see my screen at the same time. Just a moment. I should share with sound, and I can just share the entire desktop. Probably better if I did that. Okay. Yes, and as I said, my name is Wayne Hinds from Toronto, Canada. I'm going to be presenting to you my book. I'm a first-time author, although I do have a publishing company, and I have published other authors. But I've been fortunate this year to publish my book, which is literally coming off the press in the next week or so. And so this is a great opportunity to be able to share this with you. Before I get into my book, I'm going to just show you a couple of one video. If you can hear this video, give me a thumbs up. If you can't hear it, Conan, perhaps you can let me know. Okay, but I'm just going to share this video, and then I'll continue my presentation. All right.
Okay. You will see people coming in, but just ignore that.
We know that Google is tracking us. We agree to it when we set up our phones.
Yeah, we can hear it. We can hear it.
So we wanted to figure out what exactly Google is learning about us throughout the day. So here's what we're going to do. We have 2 identical phones. The only difference between these two phones is this one is in airplane mode. Both of the phones lack a SIM card, and they haven't been set up to access any Wi-Fi networks. So for all intents and purposes, these phones have no connection to a data network. We're going to keep them with us throughout the day, and while I travel around DC, we're going to figure out just what Google is finding out about me. Our first stop, Sims Convenience Store, just outside our Fox Bureau, for a quick coffee. From there, we took a walk to the Capitol and took a quick walk around the Senate office buildings, and then decided to hop in a car and head around town. Hello. We're going to the Children's Hospital, please. To run our tests, we had to do more than walk the block, so we took a tour around our nation's capital. First, due north to the Children's National Medical Center Hospital, then west to St. Albans School and the National Cathedral. Our tour around town was a 14-mile journey that lasted more than an hour. The entire time, the phones had no access to the internet. Oh my goodness. Not a Wi-Fi connection and not any cellular data service. It almost seemed quaint to assume that Google wouldn't even be able to collect data on me. Let's head back to the Bureau, my friend. Oh, that church is beautiful. Google's business model is simple. Collect data on its users and then use that data to sell targeted ads. It's a business model called surveillance capitalism. But does that critical data collection work even when your phones aren't connected? So we're back here at our Fox Bureau in DC, and we've got both of our phones exactly how we left with them. The only difference, really, I snapped a couple of bad selfies at the National Cathedral. But otherwise, they have stayed in my pocket for the entire day. So let's find out what they know. This is our man-in-the-middle device. It's basically a Wi-Fi network that these phones are going to connect to once we turn their Wi-Fi on. It's going to pass data through it on the way to Google. But on the way, we're actually going to get a copy of the same data that Google's going to get. We'll be able to decrypt it and then find out where we've been throughout the day. Within minutes, the numbers rolled in. The phone that wasn't on airplane mode registered more than 100 locations, 130 activities, and even 152 barometric readings. As soon as it hooked up to our Wi-Fi, it transmitted 300 kilobytes of data straight to Google. The phone even logged our exact locations, tracking us all around town, the Capitol, the hospital, the school, and the cathedral. Now you may notice what's missing here is the exact route that we took, but it got that data too. It knows when I got out of the car. The metadata has a time log down to the very second, tracking everything when they think that you're walking, riding, and yes, even getting out of the car. Okay, so you're thinking, this isn't a big deal. I'll just put my phone in airplane mode. Yeah, we thought of that too. This is the other phone that we had with us that no SIM card also remained in airplane mode the entire time. Let's see what kind of data it captured. The phone with airplane mode activated actually logged more locations and activities than the other phone, and it also transferred hundreds of kilobytes of data to Google as soon as it was activated. The only thing that's missing from this map is our stop at the Children's Hospital, but it still knows we were there. There it is. Exiting vehicle, 100% accuracy. Through complicated user agreements and free software, Google gets users to sign away their privacy for nothing. They're even following you in the places that most people would expect total privacy: government buildings, a children's hospital, a private school, a church. Every move you make, every step you take, Google is watching you.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's just the preface to my book. My book is about our data, how our data is being used to transform the world. Literally, we are giving our data away in exchange for convenience, entertainment, a number of other things. Okay, and just simplicity of having a mobile phone or mobile device to be able to do so many things, and that's fine. Okay, some of these are absolutely necessary. However, we don't realize that we're actually leaving data every time we get online. We're leaving a digital footprint. And so that's the premise really of my book. It's not just about privacy, although privacy is a key component of it. It is about your data. How valuable is your data? And it is so valuable that it's transforming our world to the extent where we have big tech is now an industry that didn't exist before that uses our data. So let me just show you one other quick, this is my promotional video about, let me share that. Let's make sure I can share that screen. Are you seeing that?
Yes, we're seeing, yeah,
Are you hearing the audio?
we're not hearing anything.
Okay, just a moment. It was all set and ready to go,
Okay.
but the audio is not. Give me a moment. Okay, let's try that again. Start from the beginning.
There's no audio.
Your personal data
Oh, we
is
can hear it
changing
now.
business and society. The digital age requires more data to power society's new engine. This book gives insight into the importance of personal data and how it's being used to shape the future of business and society. As a result of the widespread acceptance of the internet, booming mobile device usage, and vast amounts of data, new business models have emerged to meet our every need and convenience online. Data has become the fuel to power many businesses' goals and engines as they collect, measure, and analyze it to market it to people like you and me based on our searches, behavioral habits, and purchasing patterns. Some of these companies provide enticing behavioral and habit-changing services that'll result in irreversible social change. Data has quickly become one of the world's most valuable commodities, and we're willing to trade our personal information for convenience, entertainment, and instant gratification. We explore what the future of business and society might look like, as well as practical steps you can take to reclaim and reposition your digital gold. Pre-order now. Reclaim.
Okay, and before I finish up with my presentation, I'd like you to do me a favor. For those of you that have your mobile with you that you're not using to be on this call, go to Google My Activity. Just type in Google My Activity, okay, on your phones. You can do it on your computers too, all right? And you will be shocked to see how much data is available online about you. It'll take you to this website called Google My Activity or My Activity Google, and it will tell you every single site you visited. It tells you everything, who's tracking you. It's phenomenal. Now, that's only a small taste of what's available about you out there. So, I'm going to just go through a quick presentation here about my book. What I've shared with you is really just a taste of the data that's out there on each of us. And all these platforms that we get on, social media platforms, and so on, we are leaving a digital footprint behind. And so therefore, I've written this book. I'm technology is my, and analytics and data is my passion. And I've written this book to really inform and educate you about your data, how valuable your data is, and how your data is being used to transform the world. And so businesses have created habit-changing patterns, in recent years, and we're not even aware of some of the things that we're doing and what's being tracked and what's being used to basically to market to us. So every time we go and do a search, that search is captured, and that turns into some sort of advertisement potentially. And so I'm just going to show you just a couple of chapters of the book. And this is the digital version of the book. As I said, it's going to be on Google in the next couple of weeks. And I'll just flip through some of the pages just to show you. Here you can see the table of contents. All right, we cover off data, how important data is, and how it become really gold. And in 2017, there was an article that was written by The Economist that said that data has surpassed oil as the most important commodity, the second most important commodity. Gold is the most important one. That's incredible. That says that data is more valuable than oil, and we know that the world runs on oil. So we talk about that. We talk about how data is actually collected. We talk about privacy. Privacy, what's that? And how it's being challenged. What the new economy may look like. With artificial intelligence, AI. You hear that a lot. I mean, when we say hello, Siri or Siri direct me. That's AI at work. And also to one of my favorite chapters, we talk about social media at length in this in a number of sections. One of my favorite chapters that I've written here is called the new social scoring. And if for those of you who've taken Uber or Airbnb or Lyft, one of those types of systems where you go in and you get an opportunity to rate the driver or rate the bed and breakfast place you may have gone to, there's a 5-point system. So imagine that our world is based on that type of rating system. We're not too far off. And I talk about a couple of Hollywood movies that were produced that actually talks to some of this points. And then we go into how you can reclaim your own data and monetize it. And we even touch on the metaverse, blockchain, and NFT, because at the core of all this, or on the pinning all of this, is data. And we take a little bit about the evolution of the web from 1.0 to 3.0, which will be similar to the metaverse, the 3-dimensional world, and the dark web. And so I'm just going to quickly just glance through some of these chapters in the book here. And at the end of each chapter, we leave you with what we call digital gold nuggets. And a digital gold nugget essentially is an action that you can take yourself to reclaim your data. All right, so at the end of each chapter, you'll be empowered as to how to go about reclaiming your data, and empowering you that knowledge is so important, and empowering you to be able to know how to maybe turn some things on and off, how to block some of the advertisements, etc. All right, these are just some examples. All right, so that's my book. Reclaim Your Digital Gold. It is your power. How our personal data is changing business and society. And I'm Wayne Hinds. I want to thank you again for this great opportunity. You can get my book. It'll be published or be available on Amazon starting December 9th. December 7th is our target date. And you can also pre-order at the website reclaimyourdigitalgold.com. reclaimyourdigitalgold.com. And on that, I'll close. Thank you very much. I'll put my my link and chat in the chat, and any information. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Makonnen? Is he there? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. Very interesting. Very interesting. And on that, we're going to move swiftly on to Karimah Campbell. Karimah Campbell. Apologies, Karimah.
No worries. Thank you, Auntie Jean.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're having a blessed Sunday. As Auntie Jean just mentioned, my name's Karimah Campbell, and I'm the author of ABC Come and Skank With Me. So I'm going to tell you a bit today about myself and also my book. But first of all, let me let you all know I'm based in the UK, in Croydon in South London. And I want to give some thanks before I start, just extending on from how Auntie Jean started the session. So first and foremost, I want to give thanks to the Almighty for the gifts and blessings He's bestowed upon me. I want to give a huge thank you to my mum, who I know has joined today, and without you, none of this would be possible. Thank you to my ancestors. Thank you to Brother Makonnen and Auntie Jean for providing this amazing platform. And also thank you to you all for giving your time today on this Sunday to hear about me.
Shay.
Shay. So as mentioned, my name is Karimah Campbell. Before I start talking to you about my book, ABC Come and Skank With Me, I want to tell you who Karimah is. So I was really intrigued by Wayne's session just there, because I'm a technologist by trade. I've spent over a decade in the world of legal technology, and a large part of my career has been as a digital forensic investigator and also as a password cracker. And one of my biggest passions is about celebrating the richness of our beautiful Black culture and the great things that we've achieved together. So back in 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic, I launched Black Tech Queens. And that's a platform to get more Black women into the world of technology, to help those already in the industry to achieve their aspirations, and also to celebrate all of our achievements. So ABC Come and Skank With Me is all about reggae music. And you're probably thinking, what, if I'm a technologist, why did I go down the route of doing a book about reggae or music as a whole? And I'd say music has always been a large part of my life. It started back when I used to listen to soul songs with my mum walking to school in the mornings. We loved Joe. And I also spent a lot of my weekends with my auntie going through her tapes and records. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that it was possible to have so many Bushman tapes. So that really got me into loving reggae. I then moved on to playing music, and I bought my first set of decks age, I think it was 14, 15, just after I got my first paycheck from my Saturday job. And I learned to mix some of the great dancehall rhythms such as like Bam Bam and Drop Leaf rhythm. And I also had a regular slot on a Sunday radio show through most of my teenage years. And I'm not a DJ anymore, but I must say my love for music is far from gone. Anybody in my life who's close to me can testify to the fact that I can find a song for literally any occasion. So there's my love for music. And so the book, ABC Come and Skank With Me. This came along into my life from me having a conversation with a young family member. So I want you all to picture this, knowing what you know about me so far. I'm in the living room playing some Beres Hammond, talking to my 26-year-old cousin, and we're talking about some of the latest dancehall artists. She then turns to me and says, whose song is that playing in the background? And my answer was Beres. For her to respond, who? And this broke my heart. I can't even explain to you how much this broke my heart, that she didn't know who Beres was. And then if she doesn't know, her kids won't know, their kids won't know, and we would have just lost this huge part of our culture, this huge part of us, and also the knowledge of these legends. And so that played on my mind for quite a while. And I was just asking myself, what can I do to stop this? How can I make sure that this lives on? And so that's how ABC Come and Skank With Me was born. And so it's A to Z of reggae legends, and it's targeted at children. So throughout the book, it highlights the legends, does references to some of their iconic song lyrics, and is all brought to life through the illustration of Janine Carrington, who I believe I can't see because a lot of people are still named as Black Book Show, but I believe Janine's joined us from Toronto, Canada today. So that's, thank you for joining today, Janine. And so the process behind the book, I started to write a list of artists from A to Z, and I'm sure you can imagine the first list that I had was so long. It was so hard to choose the B particularly as the letter, given that I've just explained to you, Beres was one of the inspirations behind the book. It was, do I put Beres in? Do I put Buju? Do I put Bob? And I spent a lot of sleepless nights going through that. But I did realize that in order to make the book as effective as possible, I need to narrow it down to one per letter. And I'd also need to choose a mixture of old artists and new artists. So someone to cater to the parent, the sibling, the aunt, uncle, or even the grandparent who's reading the book with the child. And so we've got artists such as Chronics, and we've also got like Sugar Minott and Half Pint. So I'm hoping that this does cater to a lot of people. And from the readers who I've spoken to so far, that's one of the great things that they love about it. It's just a mixture that's relevant to all. And so a unique feature of the book is that I use QR codes on each page. So as you see here, so on Half Pint, we have it in his sleeve, and on Gregory, we have it there. And so when you scan these QR codes, they take you to more information about the artist, which I'll show you guys shortly as well. And I must say, part of the reason that I put the QR codes in is to satisfy the technologist in me, but also I wanted to make sure that we could give back and say thank you for all of the great things that these artists have given to us. And so in order to give back, what you do, once you scan the QR code and you find out, you go to the page with more information about them, you can listen to their music, and you can also visit their websites where you can do things such as concert tickets and also get merchandise if they're still around as well. And then also, I'm sure you can all testify to the fact that children are unfortunately addicted to technology at the moment. So by embedding the QR codes, it also meets those two loves there as well, and make sure that we're appealing to perhaps children who aren't regular readers. We're finding a way to pull them into this as well. So I'm going to do a bit of a read to you all, and I'm going to go backwards from D. So for those of you who joined early, you would have heard Auntie Jean playing some Dennis Brown. And so I'm going to start with D, and this is for my mum because Dennis Brown is her favorite. So you can see here, this is D for Dennis Brown. And it says, he came with love and not hatred. Goodness and mercy followed him all the days of his life. So I'm sure the Dennis Brown lovers out there will know what song that's from. Okay. We've got C for Chronic. He does it for the love and not for the likes. We've got B, and I know all of you are thinking, who did I choose for B? We've got B for Buju Banton. He wanted to rule his destiny, so travelled over hills and valleys. He could go on and on, the full story's never been told. And my reason for putting Buju is because he's still putting out music now, which is appealing to the youth with his collaborations with DJ Khaled, for example. So perhaps people who are listening to him, who's only aware of him through DJ Khaled and the hip hop scene, this will bring them back to understand, oh, he's reggae deep down at heart. Thank you, Jeanne. And then lastly, I'm going to talk on Alton Ellis. You can see here. And he was still in love with you, which made him so very happy. So I mentioned that QR codes play a large part in the book as a whole. And so I'm going to share my screen and show you what would actually come up if you were to scan the QR code on Alton Ellis. Let me see if I can share this. Okay, you should all be able to see my screen now.
Yes, it's shared.
Perfect, thank you. So you can see a bit about him as a person here, his full name, birthday, place of birth, a bit of a write-up about him as well. You can visit his official Facebook page. And also, as I promised, you can listen to some of his music.
Wonderful.
I don't know why now. My baby.
All right. So
that's wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And so that's just an example of one of the pages you can see. And as I mentioned, there's one on each page. There's also a little added bonus that I put in. Wasn't intentionally part of the book, but it had to go with the book. So you also get access to a Spotify playlist with all of the songs referenced. And so that's 2 hours and 7 minutes of really good music that trust me, I've had on repeat in my house. Cool. So I just wanted to touch on the process behind it. So with ABC Come and Skank With Me, it's fully self-published. And part of my reason behind that was wanting to keep control of all aspects. I knew what message I wanted to deliver. And I just wanted to make sure, with this being my first book, that it didn't get lost. So, as well as going down the route of self-publishing, I also personally dispatch each and every order by myself as well to make sure it's packaged right, throw in a bookmark where possible as well. So that is ABC Come and Skank with me. With the book, I really am hoping, I've got big hopes for the book, and the main one is that the richness of our culture is able to spread and more families spend more time together. So as I mentioned, my struggles with the letter B, and I'm hoping that this book will have more families debating artists that they feel should have been featured, who their favorite artist is, and then also start having conversations with the inquisitive children about the different machines that are featured in the book. So that's like a record player or a tape, which most of these children nowadays probably wouldn't have seen before. So if you're looking for ABC Come and Skank with me, it's currently available on Amazon for those in Europe, and www.giftedand-black.com internationally. I'll paste a link into the chat after this as well. And we also have some other great outlets such as Promoting Our Heritage, who are supporting us, and you can purchase your book from. And lastly, as we go into 2023, you'll be able to find us in a lot more places. So I'll be doing author reads with children in libraries and schools, talking about the evolution of reggae music, looking at the core components of what makes a reggae song, and perhaps creating some of our own reggae songs. We'll be at various reggae festivals globally as well. And most importantly, we'll be with everybody who has the book just skanking along. So this is ABC Come and Skank with me. And thank you all for just giving me your time today and listening.
That's absolutely wonderful. How much is the book?
$9.99.
$9.99 is a brilliant price as well.
Thank
Wonderful. Are you with us, Makonnen?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much, Karimah Campbell. I have looked in the chat. There is some comments and some questions. So, Karimah, I know you mentioned you. Please put your links in the chat. Wayne Hinds as well. You spoke earlier. I'll put your links in the chat if you haven't already. Karimah, please answer those questions and those comments in the chat. I'm now going to go on to our next author. Our next author, Simon Hudson. Simon Hudson, he's author of the book called History Through the Black Experience. Simon, just come on and please, tell us where you're based and then tell us, about your book. There's actually 2 volumes of the book. Simon, I have recently interviewed him actually for the Black Book Radio Show podcast, and that interview is going to come out very, very soon. But Simon, please come on and, tell us about the books that you've written, please.
You're muted. Simon, you're muted.
Right, I'm just being told that I was muted, so you obviously just saw my mouth moving.
Yes.
May I apologize, especially to Wayne and to Karimah. I am quite the Luddite. I don't go around smashing up machinery or IT or anything like that, but I don't even own a mobile phone. And that's why it says Black Book Show Guests. I don't even know how to write my name in there. So I do apologize for my limitations. And unlike the very clean, polished presentations that you've just seen, I don't have any links. And when people are talking about the link to the chat room, that's all gobbledygook to me. So let me give my apologies out there immediately. My book, there are 2 books. This is part 2, History Through the Black Experience. And very quickly, my name's Simon Hudson, and as a child growing up in the late 60s and early 70s, many of you will understand and have experienced the prejudice and the racism that one faces. There was confusion as to who I was, what I was, and why I was. I had no problem with being Black, but clearly a lot of people around me had enormous problems. I remember working at Southampton Football Club in their shop, and one day we were playing Man United. And when the fans saw me, they were all making their way back home at the end of the match. One fan started shouting, N, kill the dirty N. And all of them started joining in. And there was a crescendo which lasted something like 10, 15 minutes as they all marched by, and I couldn't go anywhere. And clearly, as a young Black man growing up, I wanted to have purpose, have direction. I wanted to see people like me who I could look up to, who I could emulate, who I could admire. And I remember as a 10-year-old writing the words of Martin Luther King on my wall. Our method will be that of persuasion, not coercion. We will say to people, let your conscience be your guide. And that particular speech ended with the words, and when the history books are written, they will say there lived a great people, a Black people who injected new meaning and dignity into the veins of civilization. Unfortunately, I didn't know who these great Black people were. I didn't know who these wonderful individuals were. And I also remember hearing Shakespeare say, all the world's a stage. And if all the world's a stage, I had to ask myself, where are all the Black participants? Where are all the Black sound engineers? Where are all the Black people managing the lighting? Where are all the Black directors, the Black producers, the Black actors? And so this is what led me ultimately to writing the book, History Through the Black Experience. It started off as a calendar, and the calendar had over its 366 days, because every year is a leap year, because the calendar is not just for 2022 or 2023 or 2024, it's just a standalone calendar for every year. And it had something like 550 entries, because on many days there were multiple entries. But people turned around and asked me, they loved the calendar, but they said, okay, but where are all the stories behind the headlines? And just before lockdown, I decided to sit down and started typing away, putting pen to paper, doing my research, and started writing. And 18 months later, I had looked at the Black presence on the world stage over the last 500 years. There were certain restrictions. I had to be able to identify a particular event or a person and relate that to a particular year, month, and day. So effectively, the book starts on January the 1st, what happened on January the 1st, January the 2nd through to December the 31st. I didn't want to get rid of the American narrative, because the American narrative is very important, but I fully appreciated and understood how the American narrative of the 20th century in particular had dominated the picture. So I was looking for information, for characters, for events from sub-Saharan Africa, looking at the Caribbean. And when I say the Caribbean, I mean the French, the Dutch, the Spanish, the English-speaking Caribbean, not just, you know, Jamaica, and just bringing others in if I needed to look in that direction. I wanted to look at North America, as I already stated, Central America and South America. As many of you will know, Brazil has the largest Black population outside of Africa. But for the vast majority of people, we know little more than a few footballers. And again, I wanted to tease out the narrative, tease out the story, and place these people and their history at the center of the stage that Shakespeare had spoken of, and shine a light on them. I also wanted to look at the Black presence in Europe, focusing understandably quite heavily on the UK, but bring other people and groups in, such as Papua New Guinea, Tonga, the Solomon Islands, and embrace the Aborigines of Australia who identify as Black. And so I wanted it to be universal. I wanted it to look at the Black population, the Black diaspora, over the past 500 years. Now, as I say, it's the last 500 years essentially because once you start going a little bit further back, you can get history, and there is valuable history beyond that 500 years, but it becomes increasingly difficult to trace a day and a month and a year. I do have a few events which go beyond the 500 years. It was interesting listening to I think it's Tamera. Sorry, I do apologize if I got your name incorrect there, the guest just before me, and talking about music, because in the book I look at the great exponents and performers and pioneers in jazz. I didn't want the book just to be about music, so I thought, okay, I'll reduce it to 10 particular exponents of jazz. I did the same with blues. I did the same with reggae music. I did the same with gospel music, etc. And it was interesting having the conversation with people as well as with myself, who I would include and who would be excluded. And jazz was the easiest because the key players spoke for themselves, such as you can't exclude Louis Armstrong, you can't exclude Miles Davis, you can't exclude Duke Ellington, you can't exclude Ella Fitzgerald. And when you go on to blues, people like Billie Holiday, they're all going to be there. And again, it was lovely listening to Karimah, I do apologize, Karimah, when she said, I really wanted their stories to not disappear and just become history, so that the next generation had no idea who these people were and what they did and what they achieved. But it's not just about music. It's about the inventors. It's about the innovators. It's about the explorers. It's about the politicians. It's about the good, the great, the amazing, the brilliant, the wonderful, but also the bad and the ugly. Trying to create this massive puzzle, and each character, each event being just one part of that jigsaw and putting it all together. So in the end, I was able to include, from the initial 550 events on the calendar, something along the lines of 2,500 entries covering our history, our narrative, our story, our experiences. And what was fascinating was there were so many amazing highs, so many people who had achieved, whom we were able to stand on their shoulders. Stories of success, overcoming obstacles, and even drilling into the whole transatlantic slavery experience. Those people who were able to come out of it to triumph and still retain their humanity. And that was a great testimony, because often we shy away from certain aspects of our history. But I always recall talking to someone who would give talks about the Holocaust, a Jewish man who actually had been in Auschwitz. And he said, no, don't shy away from those moments, learn from those moments, and be proud of your survival, be proud of your achievements. And I thought, yeah, we should be proud. And there are something like 40 narratives written by people who were enslaved. And it's amazing reading their stories, how not only were they able to survive, not only were they able to thrive, not only were they able to escape, but they were able to grow and, most importantly, retain their dignity, retain their humanity, and in many areas, fight for their brothers and sisters so that they too could gain their freedom. I look at, as you see, many of you will know the film Hidden Figures. I look at space exploration, scientists, engineers, mechanics, and every day there are just so many stories, too many stories for me to be able to relay in the time that I have here and now. Also in the book, I wanted the book to be for people who don't necessarily read. So if you're not one of those people who pick up a book and a day later you finish that particular novel. All you have to do is read what happened on that particular day. But for those people who are interested, I will turn around. And so let's talk about Karimah's ABC. So I write about Bob Marley. But at the end of that section on Bob Marley, February the 6th, you'll find the piece on Bob Marley. I say, if you want to read about Dennis Brown, go to the 1st of July. If you want to read about Toots Hibbert of the Maytals, go to the 11th of September, etc. So you're able to link up. And I do the same with pioneers in British football. So Andrew Watson was the first person of African heritage to play international football. I think full stop, he's played for Scotland. And at the end of that, I turn around and say, go and see Eddie Paris. Eddie Paris was the first Black player to play international football for Wales. Go and see John Francis Leslie. Now, some of you may recall it was on the news at the beginning of Black History Month, at the beginning of October, that John Francis Leslie, the FA paid for a statue, which is now outside Plymouth Argyle, because he was chosen to play for the England team, but never received his debut, his international cap, because they discovered he was Black. And the FA, in their bid to say sorry, they erected this statue to him and belatedly, posthumously gave him the cap that he never received. Now, it tackles some very brutal experiences, as well as the highs, as well as those glorious moments. And again, I include a lot of those brutal experiences to show what an amazing people we are, that we've come through so much and we still have maintained our dignity, our humanity. So at the back of the book, I turn around and say that although each book is A4 in size, each book has something like, and this is the volume, and that's January through to June, and the second volume is July through to December. Each book is 400 pages long, and I have to admit that after all of that research, after all of the investigation, I've only just begun to scratch the surface. And that in itself is a delight, to discover that there's so much out there. And when people turn around and say, our history is being hidden, it hasn't been hidden. I want to encourage people to pick up books and to read, to discover what's out there, because there are so many amazing, as we've already heard from the two people before me, so much amazing stuff taking place, being written, being produced, being presented. I wouldn't go as far to say we're spoiled for choice, but for those people who haven't discovered the library of information out there, they will be spoiled for choice. And we're talking about material written for children, we're talking about material written for teenagers, young adults, and right across the age group. So my group, my book, I would say, is written for 12 years and older, but I believe it's accessible for all the family. The School Library Association has just recommended that the books go into every school in the UK. It's only a recommendation. We know that the school budgets are tight, but I'm pleased that they have looked at the books and think, yeah, these books should be in every school. And as a result of the books, I've been asked to give talks in care homes, in primary schools and secondary schools, being asked to give lectures at Imperial College. I've been asked to talk on National Prison Radio. I went into Brixton Prison, and just a whole variety of doors have been opened so that I could share our stories, share our narrative, share our history, and as I say, embrace and enjoy our history. So can I just say thank you for this platform. Thank you for allowing me onto this program. And yeah, it's been interesting listening to what people have had to say. Thank you very much. Oh, before I go, I should say that the books are available, and I heard that Karimah mentioned promoting our heritage. They are available from promoting our heritage sumupstore.com. They're also available on www.blackhistorybooks.uk, as well as Amazon. That also includes Amazon in on the other side of the pond, Waterstones and WH Smith's. Right. Thank you very much for giving me your time and for listening.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Simon Hudson. What I've done, Simon, I've put the links to your books on the Amazon link anyway on the Zoom chat, so people can go on that link if they're interested in purchasing. I put volume 1 and volume 2 links, so people can go and check that out if they wish to. Right, let's go on to our next author now. Our next author is Jeanna Brodie-Mends, and she's the author of the book called The Journey Before Success. So, Jeanna, if you'd like to come on, please start by telling us where you're based, and then tell us all about the book you've written.
Hi guys, evening all. I always say Sankofa. I always put your real first name. I always say Sankofa. As just been introduced, my name is Jeanna Brodie-Mends. I am based in the UK, based in London, and I predominantly work in East London, so the Hackney area. And I am the newly author of this book, The Journey Before Success: Transparent Lessons of a Saved Woman. Often people get confused with the title of the book, thinking a saved woman is about church, Christianity and religion, but it's not. It's predominantly about being saved from trauma, past traumas, and being able to overcome them. The question I tend to ask people because I'm a transformation leadership coach, and the question I tend to ask people, who am I? So I always start off by introducing who I am. I am a transformation leadership coach. I'm also now a newly author. And I'm also the CEO of an organization called The Journey Before Success, CIC. And that organization has been working within the community now. Well, I've been working in the community for over 20 years. That organization has been set up to support people to have choice, freedom, and a lifestyle. So as a transformational coach, I try to do everything that I do in the UK. I do it in the Caribbean, so primarily in Dominica. And I also do it in Africa. So we've been in Sierra Leone, Ghana, and Gambia. Just came back from Gambia, which was amazing. So that's who I am. I wear many hats, and sometimes people may see my face in different spaces and think, but I'm sure she said she was this, and I'm sure she was that, but I do have many hats, and I take a holistic perspective to any of the different ways in which I work. The book that I've come on here today to talk about, as I say, if you can see it clearly, I don't know, my lighting's great. We can see the storm, we can see the stormy waters, and in particular, there's an Adinkra symbols that's up there. This book, I don't call it necessarily a book, I call it a toolkit. And I call it a toolkit because I don't want people to think it's a book that they need to read. They have to read it in a particular chronological order. They can pick it up, flick through it, stop at a particular page, read that lesson. I don't call the chapters, I don't call it chapters, I say lessons, because each one is a life lesson. As a coach, I found it important that, I kept on identifying people wanting to have conversations and wanting to be able to get clarity and identify issues that they're experiencing in life, but not necessarily being prepared already to be quite vulnerable. So being able to put it in a toolkit that people can take away, do the work on their own, in their own privacy of their own space and within their own time, enables them to do so. One of the things that people always ask me is, Jeanna, what is the book for? Well, who's the book for? But the first one is what? Why did I want to do the book? What's the overall aim for people? Now, the overall aim for everybody, any particular person picking up the book and reading it, is to emancipate our minds, and I'm going to speak all of us, is to emancipate our minds from mental slavery. Because there's a lot of things that we've been, I guess, programmed, it's been downloaded into us, and over the years, we just constantly just take on other people's information. And a lot of times people never really take the time to stop, reflect, and actually explore what they've been through and be able to overcome that. So this toolkit gives you exactly the opportunity to do so. At the end of each lesson, there is call to action questions, and it is a very easy read. Let me show you the text. It's not a comprehensive book. It's very concise, very easy read, and as I say, you can flick through very quickly. Who's the book for? Now, there's the book's for everyone. However, the 3 areas or the 3 people who I've particularly focused on is women aged 35 plus, and those women who may have particularly found that they've lost their sense of identity, lost their voice, want a bit more clarity on where they're going. One thing I keep on hearing coming up, you know, a lot of women, you know, matching men's egos and masculinity. And I thought it's very important for us as women in particular, and I've experienced it for myself, is when you're approaching 40 years old, it's almost like everyone seems to have this identity light bulb moment of, you know, who am I? You know, what have I been doing for the past how many years of my life? Have I achieved what I wanted to achieve? So my primary focus group is women aged 35 plus who may have felt that they've lost their voice and their identity, as I said before. Because when I ask people, when I ask women, or when I ask people in general, but women in particular, who are you? They start to list off titles. They tell me what they do. They say, oh, I'm a mum. They say they're a teacher. They might say that they're a wife, but they never quite tell me who they are. So this book would help individuals, women, to be able to get a bit more clarity on that. The second group of people who this book is targeted at is young females aged 18 to 34. Now, again, young women aged 18 to 34, I used to work with young adults from ages 18 to 30. And again, so anything that I do is from a lived experience and from patterns of behavior which I have identified over the years. And what I tend to find is that these young women, and I've experienced it myself, there's conversations that often don't get had within families and from those who have gone on before and done things. So it could be our aunts, it could be our parents, it could be, you know, an elder within the family that have gone through certain experiences in life and they don't necessarily share them with us. So the goal is that a young person or young adult, 18 to 34 years old, will be able to pick up this book and be able to use the call to action question to be able to sit down, reflect on what they're experiencing and actually answer the questions for themselves. Too often we want to know the questions, it's not out there, but the reality is all the answers that we need is already within us, but it's about us taking the time in such a busy world. It's about us taking the time to sit down, reflect on what we're doing. Are we getting the outcomes that we want to achieve? If not, reflect, review, and then make better choices and better plans and put it into action. Action is very key. Everyone does plans. We're coming up to January. I do a vision board experience as well. And, you know, many people start off saying, yes, I want to achieve this. They do their vision boards, but then the action doesn't come. So just to say that, you know, action is very important when planning anything. And the third set of people who I target this book at is Black men. Now, you know, everything's femininity, you know, pro women, feminine, everything here. But definitely our Black men, definitely don't want them to be left out of this. And it's so important, particularly for me as a Black female, growing up in the West in particular, that we understand and recognize that our Black men are here to support us. And quite often that, you know, society has made us pitted against each other. And this book will help Black men, I guess, be able to know that they do have a voice, identify their voice, appreciate their voice, and be able to activate it and put it into motion. Because I talk to a lot of guys under a program that I run called Descendants of Kings. And guys often say the reason why they don't share, or they're not vulnerable, one, with their partners, because they feel it may be used against them. They don't speak up because they feel, what's the point? You know, again, it's going to be used against them, so whether it's their partner, whether it's society. So they kind of feel a bit lost as to how can they actually be assured of who they are, and how can they then use that once they identify who they are. But this book, as I say, definitely will help give everyone, you know, as I say, the females who feel they've lost their identity, lost who they are, the young women are not sure, they're navigating their path from this world, you know, where they want to go. Because some people say allow people to make their mistakes, and people do learn from mistakes, but sometimes we don't have to make the same necessary mistakes as other people. We can learn from other people's mistakes, and we're always going to fail. I always say to people, you know, it's actually good to fail, because actually it's from your failures that you learn your life lessons. But we can learn from better knowledge rather than having to duplicate, you know, and continuously make the same experiences. So this book here, if you haven't got it, go and get it. It's definitely a really, really good read. One of the other things about this book, which I felt was important when I was constructing the book, was culture and the need to be culturally competent. Now, I say to people, as a Black woman who is of African, Caribbean, and British descent, I'm a very complex mix of cultures. And the beauty is that having done my shadow work, and I refer to shadow work, so having done what was referred to, like for example, Sankofa, I don't know if everybody's aware of Sankofa, but the Sankofa bird, in terms of the Sankofa bird, is an illustration of keeping your feet facing firmly forward. And the bird's, let me just see if I've got this in here. I've got it in here. The bird's head is turned backwards to pick up an egg on its back. Now, the egg represents life lessons. Let me try and get this. Put it here. So if you can see it here, the egg represents life lessons that we may not have learned, that we should never be afraid to go back and learn from. But whenever we go back and learn, so that could be the failures that we, we fail throughout life, the different experiences that haven't quite gone to plan, the failures of our family members, the failures of businesses, the failures of those around us. But yet we keep our feet firmly forward and keep on moving forward. And as I said, it's very important for me, being that mix of African, Caribbean and British, I find myself being conflicted in terms of my belief system, in terms of how I want to approach certain things, my level of expectation. So having this book, and again, it's, as I say, this toolkit has really helped me be able to stop, reflect. Well, actually, Jeannie, when you're in this space, are you taking into consideration people's cultures in terms of how you need to be? Excuse me. And in the book as well, there's a section where, as I said, the back of every lesson has a call to action questions. In the book also, there is a section, okay, flick through, where you can do your journaling. So there's some blank pages within the book. As a coach, I always encourage people to have a journal. And the reason why I tell people to journal things down, because sometimes we forget, not even sometimes, often we forget. People tend to forget what they've managed to overcome in particular. So, oh, well done. I see your journal there. It's fantastic. It is so important because often the thoughts and the things that come into our minds, we tend to listen to these different thoughts that come in, people's thoughts from outside. But if you wrote it down in a journal and you're able to go back and sit down and reflect and think, hold on a minute, I've gone through this experience. This is how I was able to overcome that. So surely whatever I'm facing now, I'm going to be able to get through it. And, it's so key to be able to have these things written down, because it's so easy, especially in this world, to get caught up with the business of life, the different opinions of other people, the different programming from everywhere, whether it be social media, whether it be mobile phones. And as Simon just said, it doesn't, not involved in technology like that, but it's so key. When things just pop up, we don't understand how things are being programmed into our minds. So as I say, journaling is important. And actually, the section in the book where you'll be doing your journal work, if you continue writing, that's your own book. You then need to decide whether you actually want to publish that book, because it's then your journal. This toolkit here is, I use my own life experiences and the things that I've gone through in life as a snippet of how I've managed to overcome particular traumas or situations in life, and then have a call to action. But the key thing is, a lot of people say, but Jean, oh my gosh, you wrote a book, congratulations. I've always wanted to write one. How do I write a book? Well, once you start journaling and you continue to journal and you sit back and think, well, actually, this can be useful to somebody else. The message, and I always say to my clients, is that what we go through in life, it's not for us. It's always for somebody else, because we're actually experiencing it and actually navigating it and going through it. So it's always for someone else. So the importance is now, well, how do you get to share that message with other people? Hence, there's many of us on here talking about our books, sharing our work. And you write your journal, and actually you can share this with other people also, and it will be down in history for centuries to come, years to come. Someone wrote in the comments about Othello. Well, someone's going to be messaging Jeanna and her book and understanding how it's impacted the lives of other people. So that is so key and it's so important. One of the other things about myself, this book, as I say, is from lived experience. 2016, I found myself in a rabbit hole, and people say, oh my gosh, Jeanna, what is that? Do you know what? One thing, I just came out from Gambia where I do some support. I do a food distribution program in Gambia. And I was signing a copy of the book because someone had purchased one out there. And a guy from behind the bar said to me, oh, are you the lady for this book? And I said, yeah. And he said, oh my gosh, it's a really good book. And I was actually taken aback that he'd actually read the book. I said, where did you see the book? And he said, oh, our boss put it behind the bar and I've been reading it. And I was like, oh, fantastic. So I said to him, so what have you taken from the book so far? But he probably didn't expect me to even talk to him, let alone be asking questions now about the book. And he said, what I learned from the book is that I need to stand up for myself and fight. And when I had started off saying, the overall thing for the book is to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, and for him to hear him say that actually one of the key things that he took from the book was to stand up and fight. and to basically never give up. As long as you just keep on going, step by step, keep on moving forward, we're going to get there. So as I said, 2016, I evicted myself from the rabbit hole. I was very comfortable in the rabbit hole. You would hear in my book, you know, I was traveling, as I say, I'm a coach, coaching other people, but what I wasn't doing in my busyness of life was taking time out for myself. So as I say, this book is a very easy read. It's an A5 size book, so you can fit it in your bag, and some guys, they roll it up and put it in their back pocket. And you can just be scribing in it. What I will say to people before we go is that when you buy the book, because some people say, oh my gosh, you know, it's excellent, I'm going to read it and I'm going to give it to someone else. The book is your book, it's your seed. We don't plant seeds, water the seeds, get the fruit, and then dig up the fruit, dig up the tree and give it to somebody else. You may choose to give someone some bite size of the information or give them a copy as a book, but because it's your own private book, really use it in the way it's intended to be used. So it's intended to be your own personal toolkit, and it's something that you would reference years to come. So it's not a book that you have to read from beginning to end. You can pick it up, flick through, and you can read it. Before we go, because I'm looking at my time, the books are available on Amazon. So it's available Amazon paperback, and it's available through Amazon as Kindle. You can also buy it from my website. So on Amazon, it's $12.99. You can get a signed copy and a personal message copy from my website for $17.99, which is anage.com. I will put all the links and stuff in the comment section. And as you can see here, so where I've marked it, for anyone that purchases it as gets a signed copy, there'll be a space where I will do like a reflection, and I will stop where I believe may be a good point for you to start reading from, and a message directly to you. So guys, thank you so much for having me on today's show. It's been amazing to be able to speak to you, and I wish everyone the best with all their different endeavors that they are doing. That's
wonderful.
Thank you very much. That was that's Jeanna, and this is the Black Book Show at Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. I'm the host, Makonnen Sankofa, and the Black Book Show is a platform where we have different authors of African heritage from around the world. I'm hosting from Ghana. The first author that spoke, Wayne Hinds, was from Canada. You've heard a couple of authors that have been on the show, such as Jeanna and Karimah and Simon that were in England. We've got an author coming up later who's going to be speaking from Nigeria, and we're now going to the United States of America. The next author is also a publisher. Her name is Tamera Foley. She's also one of the sponsors of the Black Book Show, so big shout out to the support from Tamera Foley. Tamera Foley, her company, Education for All Now, also offers consulting for authors, and Garwell Publishing is the publishing branch of her business. And Cassie's Big Change is the series of children's books that she's the author of. So Tamera Foley, please come on, please. Well, I welcome you again to the Black Book Show. Please start by telling us, where exactly in the States you're based, and tell us about whether you want to concentrate on your publishing, consulting, or your book series. I'll leave it to you.
Hi everyone. I am actually in the Chicago area, so I'm in the Midwest in the United States. I'm so happy to be on today. This is in the United States, a busy weekend. Because of the holiday. So today I'm going to focus on my books. And I also want to share with you a couple of projects that I am actually involved in with other authors. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is, of course, this is in the United States, it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, sales. So I have a great sale going on, what I call an irresistible offer. And what it is Cassie's collection. And I've never put this collection together and offered it as a bundle before. So it is Cassie's Big Change, How COVID-19 Changed the Way We Learn, Cassie's Big Change Coloring and Activity Book, and Cassie's Big Change Going from the Living Room to the Classroom. And as the lady before me, the author before me said, I have a journal and the importance of journaling. And I believe that journaling is also important for children. So I have a journal called Exploring My Emotions, a 45-day journal for elementary school age children. And that's in the bundle, in addition to 2 sets of feeling cards. And these feeling cards really can help promote discussion and help children to manage their emotions. There's a Cassie button, there's a Cassie keychain, and then there are 3 bookmarks that go along with some of the books. So I'm happy to be able to offer that for $44.98 right now until tomorrow at midnight Eastern Standard Time. And then tomorrow we also have another offer, and you can go to our website to see that. Also, I'm involved with a group called Lit for SEL, and we're a group of authors that write books that address social emotional learning. And we have a fantastic offer that's been going on since October. And we offer 4 children's books that elementary age that address social emotional learning. You'll have 3 bookmarks, stickers, and you'll also have access to download coloring pages. And one of them is for my book and another author's book. So actually you're getting information, you're getting 6 books or parts of 6 books, but the actual 4 books, you get the entire book. And so we are a group of, right now, we're just all women, African-American women. And so we're very happy to be offering this bundle, and that's $54.99, and that includes shipping. So I'll put everything in the link, and I'll talk just a minute about Garwell Publishing. And Garwell Publishing is the publishing arm of Education for All now, and we help authors, whether you're an aspiring author, whether you're already a seasoned author, we help authors to publish their book. And that could be, maybe you just want, hey, I just need it edited. So we will certainly help you with that. Or when I was writing my first children's book, after I had written the book, worked with the illustrator and did all that, I was exhausted. And so I needed some help. And so that's what our publishing company does, is to help other authors. Whether you say, I'm done with the manuscript, now I want you to do the rest. But you are involved through the entire process. So it's not you give it to us and then you don't have any say. It's definitely a team, a collaborative effort. And so we offer many services. So I'm going to just put the information in the chat. Please feel free to come by to look us up, message me if you have any questions. And also the Cassie's Big Change book, going from the living room to the classroom, and Cassie's Big Change, the coloring activity book, is currently on sale on Amazon and is a great price. And I really can't even offer it to you any lower than what Amazon has marked them down for. So I encourage you to go on Amazon. You can get those 2 books. They're available. Also, if you want an autographed book, of course, you'd have to go on the website. So I'll put that information there. Best wishes to all of you in this holiday season as we promote our books, and really, hopefully you are resting and also spending some time with your family and friends. And I want to thank Makonnen for having us, and definitely for having this platform, because I listen just to so many different books that are out there that I wouldn't have even been privy to or even known about. So thank you, and everybody have a great, great rest of your day.
That's wonderful. And if you put your details in the chat, please.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Makonnen?
Okay, that was all for Tamera Foley. Tamera Foley is one of the sponsors of the Black Book Show. We're now going to go on to the next author. Next author is Whitney Sims. Whitney Sims, she's author of the book called The Little Gentleman. So Whitney, if you'd like to come on, tell us, you're based, and then tell us, all about the book, The Little Gentleman, which is.
Whitney, if you'd like to.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So you'd like to come on.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity, Auntie Jean, Makonnen. I really appreciate this. This is my first virtual book tour, and it means even more that it is a Black book tour, and I am in amazing company, and I feel both honored, privileged, and blessed for the opportunity.
Wow.
So I wanted to say thank you to you both for giving us this platform as authors and Black business owners. Just briefly, my name is Whitney Sims. I'm from Florida. I am a self-published author, a former educator. I have a background and certification in early childhood education. So a lot of my resources are early childhood education based, from dealing with tracing, handwriting, phonics, phonemic awareness, and all of the other subjects for these foundational grades, which happens to be pre-K through about second or third grade. But for today, I specifically wanted to talk about my very first children's book titled The Little Gentleman. And I'll show you this is The Little Gentleman. It is inspired by my husband and son, my husband Kendrick, my son Cairo, who will be 3 next month. But the background behind The Little Gentleman was after Cairo was born, of course, I started reading to him right away. And I was looking for and searching for books that dealt with manners, specifically with Black and brown characters. I couldn't find any that I personally liked, and I don't think I found any that had Black and brown characters. So I created one, or I wrote one, and as I previously stated, it was inspired by my husband and son. So the book is about manners, specifically for little boys. Girls can also, learn a few things from this book, but it's primarily for young Black boys. It covers manners such as please, thank you, opening the doors for ladies, in case, you might happen to belch, you say, excuse me, learning when to apologize if you hurt someone's feelings unintentionally. So it covers those manners, vocabulary, and in some of, or on the pages, you can see that the manners words are in red, so that it's not only visible, but they stand out. And it brings their attention to the manners words or manners phrases. With my background in education, I also wanted to take it a step further than just reading the book, closing the book, and being completely done. I wanted to bridge the gap between school and home, because I noticed in the classroom there was a disconnect, and it wasn't because the parents, didn't want to, it's just that they didn't know or didn't understand the verbiage that was used in the classroom. So in The Little Gentleman, I added in features such as before reading activities, during reading comprehension questions, and after reading activities. And so for a quick example, to start with, when you first open the book, it has a before reading activity. And for before reading, it has what's called a picture walk and family talk. And as Karimah stated earlier about bringing families closer together through reading, that's exactly what my objective is and exactly what my goal is, or what my goal was for this book. So with the picture walk and family talk, it just briefly says, let's take a picture walk before looking through the story without reading, and ask your children the following questions. What do you see? What do you think this story is about? So again, it brings them in It allows them to become involved, and it involves the entire family. Everyone is looking through the story. Everyone is looking, to see what they see. The parents are asking the questions. The children are involved. Also, I also stated that I have, during reading questions, stop and ask questions. So I'll read just one page so you can get an understanding of what it is. It says, I'll read it from this side. After Daddy helps me brush my teeth and get dressed for school, I say, thank you. Daddy says when others do something nice for me, I should always tell them thank you. And the phrase thank you is bolded in red. So again, it brings attention to the manners phrase. And then a repetitive line throughout the story is, I'm a little gentleman, my daddy taught me well. I'm a little gentleman, my daddy taught me well. So repetition is also something that's very important when it comes to early childhood education. So I made sure to keep a pattern and a rhythm throughout the story, so that also keeps their attention. At the bottom, it has the stop sign, because this is helping the parents to understand this is where you need to stop in the story. And now it's time to ask a question to see if your child is both listening and comprehending what they're saying. So it has the stop sign, and it just asks, what do you say when others do something nice for you? And of course, the answer would be to say thank you. And that's just, again, to do like a quick quiz to, again, see if they are understanding and following what the story is about. So I'll fast forward to the end of the story. And like I said previously, it had before reading questions throughout the reading, and now we're at the end of the story, and it has after reading comprehension questions. On page blank, what do you see? On page blank, what do you say when someone does something nice for you? So again, it's the comprehension questions, the after reading activities. After the after reading, there's something that's called beyond, because now we've read the story. Now you understand the concept. Now it's time for you to actually do an activity to see even further if you understand what you were reading or have read. So this is called a beyond reading activity, where the parents themselves or an older sibling can create a scenario for their students or for their child, and they can draw in the box, and they could write about a time where they've used manners, or they could create a situation in their mind about a time where they could use manners or have used manners previously. So that is the beyond reading portion of the book. And then it has the glossary. So again, involving all of your family, you can go over those manners phrases: please, thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry, good morning, good night. So that is The Little Gentleman. And again, I wanted to create more than just a children's book. I wanted to create a family experience that would not only allow the child to read the story, close the book, and forget it. I wanted to bridge the gap between the classroom and home to hopefully build their comprehension of the stories. So that is The Little Gentleman. And I've also stated that I have other resources. There's about 21 or 22 total. So I'll just show you a couple that are all on Amazon, including the children's book. And again, these resources, and they all feature mostly Black or brown characters. This one is called Read With Me. It's CVC words, which is consonant, vowel, consonant words, vocabulary, practice workbooks. And this one is alphabet tracing, where they are working with tracing uppercase and lowercase letters. And then, like I said, there's just a couple. I'll show you one more really quickly. And this is just a handwriting workbook. It's 150 blank pages, and they just practice their tracing. So all of my resources are geared towards Black and brown children, but they can be used for children as long as it's early childhood education. So that is pretty much Whitney Sims and the resources that I create. And I hope you all enjoyed it. And I hope even more students or even more children read the book, enjoy the book, and comprehend it. Because one of my prayers 2 or 3 years ago was I prayed for the opportunity to make a difference beyond the 4 walls of my classroom. And I feel like through my resources, through my children's book, I can reach more children outside of the 4 walls of my classroom. And I've been blessed to be able to do that. So that's something that I pray continues to happen, continues to grow for the benefit of all the students in the world, and not just here in Florida, not just in the US, but worldwide. So thank you for your time. And again, thank you all. Thank you, Auntie Jean. Thank you for the opportunity, and you guys have an awesome day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's absolutely awesome that the book and the exercise books is. How do we get hold of them?
I'm sorry, they are all currently on Amazon.
They're all on Amazon. Okay, so can you buy a package? Can you buy the whole set?
Right now, there is a total of, I have some of them actually right here.
Okay, wow.
There's about 21 or 22 of them total. And like I said, they range from phonics, phonemic awareness. There's numbers to 20. I even have some for affirmations using the alphabet. So A is for amazing, B is for bold or beautiful. So I don't have a bundle deal or a package right now because these were actually created in just a year. I just became a Canva addict, so I started and I couldn't stop.
Right.
So it's pretty much me putting my teaching, my classroom into book form. But they are all currently available right now on Amazon for now. We're working on a website and I'm still new to this. So I'm pretty much creating my brand and everything, as we speak. So trying to get the website up, but everything here is located on Amazon.
Oh, that's wonderful. So are you thinking of, you're probably making some more of those books in the future, but will you think of doing like a package? So people can get the whole set?
I will. And they also range in age. Like I said, my background is in early childhood education. So I'll show you really quickly. I have sight words workbooks. And this one says pre-K through 1st grade. And then I had quite a few parents that asked for some for the older siblings. So I made a second one for 2nd through 3rd grade. And for early childhood education is pre-K through 3rd grade. So most, if not all of my resources is for that age group from 3 to about 7 or 8 years old.
Okay. You say you haven't got a website, but is there an email address or something that people can get hold of you or get in contact with you? You could put into the chat.
Yes, I will put it all in the chat. And I do have a YouTube channel called Sit with Wit Storytime. And I read children's books. And I also have that feature at the end where it asks the comprehension questions, just to do like a little pop quiz to, again, see if they not only just listened to me, but if they understood what I was reading and what I was saying. So I'll put all of the information in the chat.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have our Sister Lejet. Sister Lejet, are you there?
Family.
Hi, Hotep, how you doing?
Hi, how's everybody? Okay.
Good. Yeah,
great.
we're great. We're
Yes,
great. Can't see you at the moment.
My bulb went and I haven't got another one. Okay, family, okay, is the sound okay?
Yes, we can see you and we can hear you now.
Oh, okay,
Indeed.
Wonderful. Okay,
indeed, Lejet. Indeed.
Yes, indeed.
It's me, Brian.
Oh, dear. Thank you, brother. Right, wow, wonderful. Greetings, family. Yet again, coming on to an honor. I don't know, I've got something here that's blocking my view. So
Love you.
Yeah, it's
You
me.
see, I mean, as you said, the bulb has gone, so you're in a bit of darkness, but we can
You
see.
can make out. Oh, is that because there's something
Yeah.
else? Okay, yes. As I said, you know, coming on to the webinar each month is always an honor and privilege, and I thoroughly enjoy what I do. So, family, some of you might not be aware of who I am. I am an independent bookseller, and my business is called Nubian Nigist Books. So, a lot of people know me in the community. And I started off, my history started off loving books. And then from there, it just developed. So I've helped other book establishments. And then I thought, no, I just got to do something of my own. So on my journey, I've met so many people. It's just been fantastic. And the authors, you've just been absolutely great. And I personally try my best to know each and every one of you. Now, this webinar is exceptional because it brings us on an international scale, which is fantastic. And it's great meeting you all. Now, all of you are very, very special in your genre, in your different areas and topics in which you write about, and it is absolutely imperative and important. Now, I'm not being biased or anything, but I'm just going to mention about us here in Europe, especially in United Kingdom. And I'm going to just show you this book here. And this book is called British History. And I thought, oh, I'll get it. And would you believe it? There's not one mention of us Africans being in this United Kingdom. So this is the reason why it's so imperative that we have our own voice and in which we can talk about our history as well. So I'm coming from a really history background, but it's evolved where I have different areas, different genres. So I'm going to go through a few books, and it's going to be like a little theme I'm dealing with tonight, because I said I really wanted to yet again talk about the Windrush, because they always say that we came here from the Windrush era. So this is talking about mainly from World War II onwards, and the majority of us came in the 60s, etc., which is untrue. We've been here well before Adrian's War, the Blemmies, etc., and we have left a trail of history. And for example, you can look up the Bangle woman. So they excavated her grave, and within there was bangles, jewelry, etc., and she was African, you see. So I want to go on a journey with you today, and we're going to start off with one of my favorite authors, who is now an Unk sister, and I always get a little bit emotional when I talk about him now, because he's done extensive work and he's one of many, so we can appreciate him. His name, I don't believe in our ancestors going, but his name's Ranonko Rashidi, and he recently died last year, but he's become an Unk sister now. We don't say An sister, we say Unk sister. And he wrote the book Black Star, The African Presence in Early Europe. And it was prefaced by one of our esteemed historians, Robin Walker. So one of the next webinars, I will talk about the historians that we have over here in the United Kingdom. And it was also forwarded by Charles S. Finch, MD. So I'll show you this. I put plastic over my books, by the way. So this refutes the myth that we have been here since the Windrush. This is talking about early Europe, and coming from when the Moors came over, and in Europe they had the Dark Ages. Now that was their time of getting information from us, soap, reading, writing, etc. And this book is really, really great. Brothers and sisters from America, and if anybody from Canada, Your history as well starts in the United Kingdom, because the so-called Mayflower and those people, they ran from the United Kingdom and went to America, the Pilgrim Fathers, and they went to America and established the liberty over there. So we also, you know, this country is so good in denial and lying, and, you know, as we all know, they like to paint everything their complexion. But I'm going to just give you something as well. This book is called The Black Prince, Leopold in a Temple. And this is by another historian, he's now a doctor, Dr. Onyeka, the author, and he also wrote the other book. His previous book was Waiting to Explode. Now, this is about the Black Prince. And if you mention about the Black Prince, people say, nah, there wasn't, nah, and they whitewash, especially in Scotland and in Wales and Ireland. You know, we were all over the place and we ruled. And, you know, a lot of the monarchy, they won't tell you, but they have black blood as well. So it's just absolutely unbelievable the way they just really and truly want to hide up everything. So this book is a real insight about the Black Prince, and you will find that they have pubs, and they name a lot of the pubs. And there was one in Tottenham in London, that's in North London. It used to be called the Black Boy pub, and also the road was called Black Boy Lane. So another time, the thoughts come to me. I will talk about the names of the roads and the significance and the history that is there. So that's that, the Black Prince. Then we had another beautiful brother called Walter Rodney, who came from Guyana, who was a professor, and he wrote extensively. Now, this is an old copy. I managed to get the original copy, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, and it absolutely tells us of the scramble for Africa and the history of these people disrupting our journey. Now, why I mention our esteemed author, Walter Rodney, his publishers were British publishers. So we have publishers that American brothers and sisters who've written their books, especially a lot of the historians, their publishers are from the United Kingdom. And I have to give a big shout out to the Bogle, let me get his name here, and our elder is still with us, and he's in his 90s. Jessica Huntley is now an ancestor, his wife, but we have to big up our publisher Bogle El Overture, and they had a lot of flack in the 70s trying to get our books published as well with all what was going on, because a lot of our authors, they can't get white publishers to publish our books. But nowadays it's slightly changed. However, back in early days, it was very, very difficult. So that's why we had Bogle Overture. And I cannot go away without mentioning New Beacon Books, who are also publishers, and they have a lot of our authors' books in their bookshop as well, which is based in Stroud Green, that's in North London. Also, I am going to bring you some fresh books, up-to-date books, which is an honor. This book here, it's called Black London, and it's two sisterins, two female authors, Avril Nanton and Jodie Burton. It's called Black London, History, Art and Culture in Over 120 Places. Now, this is just absolutely brilliant. A lot of the information is in your face and you don't realize. So this gives you a scope of north, west, east and south of London, where our African family is scattered all over the place when they lived here. And up the road from me, I live in a borough called the Borough of Enfield. And do you know, along the road, there's a past Bands Green, it's a road called Dunsford Road, there's a park always past the park, etc. It's not until I actually got this book that Samuel Tambo from the ANC actually lived in the area, and they have a beautiful section of the park dedicated to him, and it's actually in this book. So what Jody and Avril say about this book is that once you purchase this book, go to each site, take a picture, and then forward it onto their Instagram page. Now, we also have another book by, yes, it's called, David, is called Tribes, A Search for Belonging in a Divided Society. Now, this author is David Lammy, and he is a local MP for the borough of Haringey. So it's not only ordinary people writing, but we have people in, we say high places, who holds esteemed positions in the community, who are also authors. Now I have so many books.
Just start to wrap up. Just got minutes
Is it
left.
rapid? Did I
Start to
take
wrap
my,
up.
yeah? Okay, quick. I'm gonna plug this new book out. Oh, and this is gonna be by, it's by Hakeem Addy, and he will be at the Africa Centre this week, and you have to go on the Eventbrite to book your ticket. It's called African and Caribbean People in Britain. So we are here, family, and we'll continue writing. And just the last but not least, The Voice newspaper, and they've got a book called 40 Years of Black British Lives. So this is just proof that we're here. Okay, family, just a synopsis of just some of the books. And thank you again, Brother Makonnen, for this wonderful webinar, and also Auntie Jean. The collaboration is absolutely wonderful, and it's just nice that you've both got together in order to do this important work. So I will put my details in the chat, and
Brilliant.
we'll take it from there. Okay, family? Take
Wonderful.
care. One love.
Thank you, sis. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we move on swiftly to Shurvone Wright. Shurvone Wright, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, wonderful. Hi. Oh, loving your necklace. Pleased to see you.
I wore this special for today. I don't wear it often, but I thought it'd be nice to wear today. So thank you so much, Auntie Jean and Makonnen, for having me. This has been absolutely amazing. I am from the United States. I'm from California, and I am super blessed, and it's such an honor to hear all the phenomenal authors that have gone before me. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I am a nurse by profession. I've been a nurse for over 35 years, and an entrepreneur and a first-time artist. I think I'm getting some background. Oh, there we go. So a first-time solo author and owner and CEO of Confidence Without Regret, The Butterfly Experience, and La Bosspreneur Marketing and Publishing LLC. So, hi, thank you, Anne from California. So I want to talk a little bit about my book and why I wrote the book. So the book is called Confidence Without Regret, The Butterfly Experience, Overcoming Low Self-Esteem to Living in Your Purpose. So I grew up a very, very shy, very insecure person. And I want to go back a little bit. When I was 5 years old, I had an experience that really changed my life. And a lot of people say that things that happen to you, you don't remember, or you just kind of, it goes into your subconscious. And I really believe at 5 years old, I was changed. My low self-esteem and all of that just kind of started to kick in. But I won't go into all the details because it's in the book. But the reason I wrote the book is because I wanted to encourage women between 18 and 50 to just step into their purpose and know their purpose. So the book, I talk about my journey of overcoming challenges in my life, things that had happened to me that produced low self-esteem and insecurities, from boys to drugs to, I get really raw and open in the book because I wanted people to see that no matter where you come from, no matter what you do, no matter what happens in your life, that you can overcome your insecurities. And I chose the cover. I chose to put myself on the cover because, a lot of people really discouraged me from putting myself on the cover. But I put myself on the cover because this particular photo, I felt the most beautiful. I'd been diagnosed with alopecia, and I really felt really pretty, and I wanted this to be on the cover. And so why did I want to write about confidence without regret? So a lot of people deal with low self-esteem, low confidence, and I talk about my journey. But not only do I talk about my journey, but I also give women, and men can read the book as well, but I also give women call to actions in the book. So not only do I talk about my own journey, but I give you actions in the back of the book. So from chapters 7 through 11, you can not only read what I experienced, but you can apply the things that I used to change my life to your life. Because I also believe that everyone has challenges, and they might not be the same challenges that I've gone through, but everyone has had challenges and things that you can overcome. So it's not just about me and what I experienced, but I also wanted to give the reader an opportunity to implement some of the tools and strategies that I use. For an example, on page 63, I talk about how to regain confidence after you have faced challenges in your life. I talk about, back here on page 95, live on purpose, clarify your goals, divide your goals into achievable steps to focus on completing one step at a time. So again, the book is not just about my life and my journey, but it also, I give you tools and strategies so that you can implement those into your life to help you overcome places in your life that you might feel there's growth needed. Now, everyone might not experience low self-esteem or confidence issues. Everyone might not experience that, but the book is still good because there are also tools and strategies in here for you to use if you feel like you need some fine tuning. So it's awesome for that as well. And then I also created, I think someone else talked about a journal and writing down the things that you've gone through. So I also created a journal planner that you can utilize as a companion to the book. So the journal planner is not just filled with lines, but there are lines. But in the first, I think it's 80 pages. Yeah, 80 pages. There are spaces where you can just write your to-dos or your planning for the day. And I purposely left the date out so you can utilize it wherever you feel like you need to. But then the meat of the journal planner is in the middle. So there are places in this journal planner that you can really dig in deep. Because I really believe like mindset and getting out your thoughts and just kind of really meditating on what you're going through or what you feel like you need to overcome, writing it down and getting it out of your head is really important. So in the journal planner, I have a section in here called positive self-reflection. So if you wanted to write down some positive self-reflection, for an example, how I feel about this month, what changed since last month, my accomplishments for this month, what I want to improve for next month. So you see, there's a lot of space for you to really dig deep on helping yourself overcome areas where you feel like you need to improve. And again, you might say to yourself, I don't have a confidence issue, or I don't really need to improve on my self-esteem. But I think as we all grow and we all develop and we all kind of go to the next level in life, you might feel like in that area, you might feel a little bit uncomfortable, or you might feel there's some growth needed. That's where this journal and planner will come in handy for you, because I think everybody at some point in life can use some tune-up or some improvement and growth. And I think this journal, I know the journal planner will be really good for you. And then also in the back, there's additional pages for you to just journal. I think journaling is super important because you just really get out what it is you feel like you're holding back. You write your thoughts, you write your experiences. And sometimes, like I think one of the authors said, you kind of forget like where you have grown, where you've overcome. And having a journal planner helps you to remember what you've overcome, how you've grown, what you've, gotten through, because it's really important to just remind yourself of that. So that's one of the reasons that I wrote the book as well. And again, I want to remind you that there's tools and strategies in the back of the book. So it's not just about me, but it's about helping others overcome confidence and low self-esteem issues. Because I think as women, we hold on to our experiences, and it just kind of eternalizes and it manifests itself in other areas. And that's what happened to me. And so I'm hoping and praying that this book can help to transform lives. And I'm super excited again to be on this platform with you all, because I prayed that I would have an opportunity to share my story internationally with people that are across the country, because I really believe that my story and this book and the journal planner will transform lives, to help people get out of their shell, to walk into their purpose, because I believe that everybody is placed on the planet for a purpose, a reason, and a season of doing whatever it is that God has called them to do. And so sometimes we get boxed into what people think we should be doing, or either fear of what we want to do and we don't do it. We all should have an opportunity to share our stories, to do whatever it is God has called us to do, and to walk in that vision, whatever that looks like. And so I pray that my story can transform lives. I will put my link and the information in the chat so that you can purchase the book. It is available right now on Amazon, the journal and the book. You can purchase it. If you want a signed copy, I'll give you the link and I will mail it personally to you as a signed copy. And yeah, I think that's all I have. But I just want to say thank you for this opportunity to let me share my book and my journal planner. And I pray and hope that you all have a blessed and prosperous day. Thank you.
And thank you so much. Don't forget to put your details into the chat. And as I said, it's come up quite a few times about having a journal. So, after this, I'm sure people who haven't done a journal or started a journal should actually start one.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
That's definitely. And the details of where to get the book.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. And we move on now to Marcia M Spence. Are you there?
Hello. Yes, I am here.
Hi.
Hello. Good evening.
How are you doing?
As well. I'm good. Bit tired, but I'm great.
Excellent.
Lots of book launches this week and book events, and we're just a bit tired, but feeling good.
It's all good. You're still smiling, so it has to be all good.
That's it indeed. That's it. Okay. Thank you, Makonnen and Auntie Jean, for having me on the platform. I am pleased and delighted really to be a sponsor of this show. My company is called Marcia M Publishing House and Academy, and we provide all the services, self-publishing services, including editorial work, design, We also run programs
Could
on.
you just repeat what you just said, because it cut out. It cut out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Shall I start again? Yeah. So my company's called Marcia M Publishing House Limited and MM Academy, and we run courses for aspiring writers, aspiring published authors. We also provide publishing services, including all the editorial work, the design, the typesetting, formatting of books, and cover design, we design promotional materials, and we do online promotion and some PR work for authors. We work with Black writers across the globe, mainly across UK, from the very bottom of the country, right the way through to, definitely in England, from the bottom of the country right the way to the top. We also have authors in Jamaica. I am of Jamaican heritage, and we have writers in the US, as well as in Europe, in Portugal and in Holland. I've been running Marcia M Publishing House for the last 6 years, and I've had the honor of working with writers who really want to get their stories told. We specialize in memoirs and autobiographies, and I have worked with, in the main, again, women, and now I'm working with many, many men to edit and publish their books. One of the books that we launched this week was a book by an 88-year-old woman from Jamaica called Learning and Growing, A Lifetime of Service by God's Grace. And we've worked with this lady, Eunice McGee Belgrave, MBE. So any of you, well, across the world, if you Google Eunice McGee Belgrave, you will see photographs of her with Lenny Henry, Gordon Ramsay, the Queen, Prince Charles, Queen Elizabeth II. Across the board, she is what we call a First Lady of Birmingham, UK. Now, in this book, and it's a full color, as you may be able to see, this one's not in color as it's a photograph from many years ago, but it's full color with lots and lots of photographs of Eunice's work. And what Eunice has done is she spent a lifetime, which she still does now at 88, working with children and young people, teaching them how to grow. She had allotments in Handsworth, in an urban district in Birmingham, where she teaches children how to grow. She worked with schools and she worked with colleges and community groups to teach children and adults how to plant seeds and grow. She's featured on BBC television on a well-known UK gardening programme called Gardener's World with Alan Titchmarsh. She is always on the television. She is one of our Windrush generation that came over from the Caribbean to the UK in the 1950s. She's a very, very, very celebrated woman, and her books are available on Amazon worldwide. The paperback retails for $19.99. And if you wanted signed copies of the hardcover, you can contact me at, we'll put it in the link, or one of my team will put it in the link in the chat, info@marciampublishing.com. So in Eunice's book, she writes about coming to the UK. She writes about trying to find somewhere to live and encountering the racism that she encountered, the signs that said no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. And so the difficulties in finding a home. She came from a beautiful home in Jamaica, you know, her own bedroom, everything. And she came to meet her husband. And when she first came to the UK, she and her husband had to share a room with 2 other couples. That meant that, you know, they just had a curtain between them. So the beds were in the same room. They had to wash in that room. They had to eat in that room. They had to live their whole lives in that one room, because there was nowhere, you know, white people wouldn't give them anywhere to live. They had to club together and share a house with other people who came over from the Caribbean. And it took some time before they could get their own home. So she charts her journey right from being born as an illegitimate child in Jamaica to the multiple award-winning woman that she became, Pride of Britain Awards, all manner of awards, you know, the MBE, Queen's Jubilee Awards from lots of the royal family, as well as across the community. She's very, very celebrated. So I had the honor to work with her. And I work with many women in particular in using their writing to manifest their healing. So I listened to Shurvone when she was speaking about some of her journey and a trauma that happened at the age of 5, and which we'll find out when we get her book. And I really want a copy of that book. And now they're moving on to having the diagnosis of alopecia and her speaking about confidence. What I want to say is that writing a book about your life is transformational. It provides transformation across the board. For me, when I wrote my memoir, I knew that I had to revisit some joyful moments, but also some very painful moments. And through the process of me writing my book, I was able to actually get to know myself a bit better. You know, there's an important philosophy, and it is that you must know yourself. And I believe that there's nothing that helps you to know yourself more than writing the story of your life. Through writing my book, I was able to be very, very clear, to crystallize what my values are, to crystallize my thoughts about the world, my views about my family, my views about my experiences, and then capture them in this manuscript. But it didn't stop there for me. After I'd written my first draft, which was approximately 50,000 words, it then went through an editorial process, which took a lot of backwards and forwards with my editor. And I also invited key people in my life to read the draft to give me a review. One of the people that read my book was my mother. And when she read my story, which really charted my life from before I was born right through to the age of 48, which was when I stopped writing. And I remember she called me and she said, because my mum lives abroad, she doesn't live in the UK, and she said, Marcia, oh, you need to change this, and I think you need to, you know, let people know that things in this area are better now. And I was just like, and then one of my children read, my adult children, and she was like, oh no, Mom, don't say this. But then I was in a lot of turmoil because my book was ready to be released. You know, I had written my truth. And then my editor said to me, Marcia, let it go. Let it go. This is your book. This is your truth. This is your story. This is your life from your perspective. And yes, my life is obviously intertwined with other people's lives. I know that. However, this was my story. And
sorry, just letting you know you got 3 minutes.
That's fine.
Okay.
And I let it go. And from that one book, I did it afraid. And from that one book, my life transformed. my knowledge of self, my confidence, because I had stepped out with my truth. So what I just want to say to you is, you must write a book about your life. And I urge you to publish it as well, because it not only will transform your life in terms of how you feel, it transformed my life in the sense that I wasn't a publisher then. I wrote that book, and then this whole journey, my purpose unfolded, and I became, in my local community and across the UK, known as the bookwoman, known as the go-to person to write your story, to write about your traumatic events. I am running a program, a 30-day challenge starting in January 2023. It's an online program, so I can work with you anywhere in the world to give you a framework to help you to kickstart your memoir or autobiographical book. It can even be a book that includes your story and a journal, your story and a workbook. So anything of that nature, anything that's about writing about poignant parts of your life, get in touch with me. I will put a link in the chat to email me. I'll put a link to my website and also a link to find out more about the challenge. I'm ready to welcome you. We had an amazing writer from Chicago on the last challenge we did, and her book is now going forward for a traditional publishing deal in the States. Please do get in touch and let me help you. My authors call me the author's midwife, and they call me that for a reason. And that's because of the tender loving care that I give. I am so passionate and so caring about this work and about the importance for our stories to be told, for us to enjoy the healing nature of writing these books, but also to add to history, to historical accounts of what has happened to people in this last, 100 years. So please get in touch and we'll put the details in the chat. Thank you so much, Auntie Jean.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Actually feeling your passion coming through the screen.
Okay,
it's beautiful. Good. Absolutely beautiful. So yeah, please do put your comments and how to people get in contact with and your courses and that in, please. That sounds wonderful. The course is starting in January.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we're moving swiftly on to Ibrahim Olawale. Are you there, Ibrahim? Ibrahim?
Auntie Jean, you're very perceptive. If you could feel somebody through the screen, you're extremely perceptive.
Oh, thank you.
It's Brian.
Yes, Brian, thank you. Ibrahim? Let me just see if I can see if he is there. Are you there? I'm just looking to see, because I know a couple of people have dropped out and come back in. Probably got internet or connection problems. At the moment, I can't see him. So, last call for Ibrahim. No, I can't see him. So we go on to our next book author, Ife Michelle Milligan. I hope I pronounced your name correct. If not, then please do correct me. Are you there?
Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay. Hi, how you doing?
Greetings, I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, looking lovely as well, loving purple.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Auntie Jean. Thank you so much, Makonnen, for hosting this opportunity for all of us. I want to also acknowledge my ancestors. I didn't speak up as we started the this lovely event, but I wanted to take an opportunity to acknowledge my ancestors and also the ancestors of those that are here. I want to dedicate this to my Granny Saki, who was a big part of my writing the book that I did. My name is Ife Michelle Milligan. I was born and raised in St. Croix, the Virgin Islands. I'm currently living in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I am a mental health therapist by profession. I've been a mental health therapist now for 27 years. I'm also a licensed clinical, a certified holistic life coach in addition to being a licensed clinical social worker. I'm an Ea Larisha, initiated in the Lukumi tradition years ago in Cuba. And now I'm an author. So I'm super excited to be here with all of you. I have to say that I am so honored to be here in the midst of all of you who have taken the steps to share your stories with the world. So I just wanted to say thank you for inspiring me. My first book was published this year in June. It is called Divine Reflections at the Crossroads. And it is this book right here, Divine Reflections at the Crossroads. And I began writing it about 3 years ago, and it was published in my 50th year of life, which I really was excited about. I wanted to be able to publish a book at least by the age of 50, and I was able to do so. And so you may ask why I wrote this book. And you know, as many who have gone before me today, the book was really written out of my healing journey, and realizing the healing that I needed, but also the healing that my family needed. And I came to a point where I realized that in order for this healing to take place, for the ancestral and the intergenerational healing to take place, I needed to lean on the guidance of my ancestors. And so I sought ancestral guidance. I sought ancestral wisdom. And a lot of times we focus on ancestral trauma, right? But our ancestors have so much wisdom that they can give us. And so this book comes out of that experience for me, which led to an awakening, another awakening, right? Because I'm of the belief that we are constantly awakening in our lives. And so it was by my surrendering to the guidance of my ancestors, which led to an awakening and being able to be in a space of empowerment that helped me to write this book. Also recognizing the divinity within myself and being able to work more closely with the divinity outside of myself. And so this book speaks about the different experiences that we have at the crossroads of our life and the healing that is available at the crossroads of our life and the choices that we can make at the crossroads of our life. And the book speaks about the reflections that were given to me, the messages that were given to me by the ancestors at different crossroads of my life. And so my ancestors shared their reflections, messages along the way, and through the crossroads of my life. And that is what is documented in this book. And so the book is, it consists of reflections, as I mentioned, with self-reflection questions, with affirmations. It is also a journal, and I heard several of the authors that spoke before me speak about journaling. And one of the most, I think one of the most powerful experiences that we can have in our healing is to be able to come to certain, realizations on our own. And that is when the healing is most beneficial and most effective. And I believe that journaling gives us the opportunity to do so. And so I'm really happy to hear that so many, of us are also giving our readers an opportunity to also reflect on that which they need to, to do in order for the healing to really take place. And so it is also a journal that supports others in their healing. On the book, I wanted to speak about the cover a little bit. So the art was done by my brother, Mark M Milligan, who also did the cover. And in the cover, he did the artwork that's throughout the book. There's 9 pieces, and as many of you know, that number 9 is transformational. So there's 9 pieces of his artwork in the book. And the cover of the book is this woman here who I've called Divine, who is holding the healing calabash, right? And so, the calabash is also a portal for healing. It's a portal through which we can connect with our ancestors and ancestral wisdom. And so the cover of the book is very meaningful for me, as well as the artwork that's in the book that was done, by my brother. I want to just show a couple of pieces. This is one of my favorite pieces that he included in the book. And all of the artwork is done to really highlight the different steps at the crossroads of healing. So I was really excited to be able to share this experience with my brother as well. So the different crossroads in the book deal with things that we all experience, right? So it speaks about awakenings and surrendering. It speaks about faith, spiritual soil, trust, fear, giving thanks, transparency, triggers, healing, love. And so there's not necessarily chapters in the book. Again, it's reflections, right? Through which, the ancestors were able to give me messages that I was able to utilize for myself, and then also provide in the book for others who are also in the process of healing and remembering and self-discovery. And so I wanted to read a small portion, a small reflection in the book that is focused on surrendering. And the reason why I chose this is because I feel that, one of the most challenging things for us to do is to surrender to the divine, to surrender to our higher power, to surrendering to the power that we have within. And so I wanted to read a really quick reflection on my journey of surrendering. And so what the ancestors said to me, surrender and allow the divine to guide you, then remain open and follow. They reminded me that to surrender does not mean you have relinquished control. It signifies that you believe in that which already is, the greatness within you. Now you have allowed it to come forth. You don't have to know how, just know that it is and will be. You will feel the magic ahead. You feel the work of spirit. Welcome the opportunity to move out of your own way and allow your divinity to manifest. Close your eyes, go within, and confirm you are ready. Let the universe hear you. Believe the barriers are removed. Know what is yours is divinely yours, and no one can take that away from you. And so that's just a brief message that was given to me in terms of surrendering by my ancestors. And so the process of birthing this book, I have to say, has been one of the most emotional, beautiful experiences for me, comparable to birthing my children, I would say. And I wanted to also mention that I wrote this book not only for others, but for myself, because I know this to be true. There have been many times in which I've had to read my own book, read the messages that the ancestors gave me in order to remind myself of what I needed to do in certain situations and also what my soul desired. And so it helps me to ground, it helps me to center myself, helps me to remember my truth in the midst of doubts and uncomfortable situations. And so I believe that, healing is reciprocal. As I heal, others heal. And that is why I decided to share with others that which my ancestors share with me on my healing journey. I believe it's important for us to take our medicine first, right? And then gift it to the world. I also use it intuitively. So I might open to a certain page. It might be a piece of artwork. It might be a reflection. It might be an affirmation. It might be questions. As I mentioned, this is also a journal. And I use that as also a guide for me on a daily basis. And so I wanted to also share about the biggest lessons that I've learned from writing this book, faith and divine timing. Again, just, having to have faith, right? That every step of the way, all of you know here know that, publishing is publishing a book, writing a book can be a very emotional experience. And so I learned from this experience myself in divine timing and in faith. And so divine is really the voice of my ancestors told through my healing journey with my brother's art interweaved to beautifully pave the way. Each powerful piece of his artwork in here is selected to highlight the steps of my remembrance. And I also wanted to just mention before I close that, Divine Reflections at the Crossroads was written to also encourage others to expand beyond what they perceive as the limitations of healing. And again, as a mental health therapist, as a certified holistic life coach, as one who's extremely passionate about healing and wanted to also share my healing journey with the world, I want to share with others that healing is not only experienced within the confines of our body, right? Healing can be projected into the universe and returned with love, which is something that I speak about in my book. And there are steps and there are layers and there are dimensions to remembering who we are. And this is what I wish for others to see, to remember how powerful they are, to remember how beautiful they are, and to experience the crossroads of life as a portal for not only choices and decisions, but rediscovery of self through awakenings guided by their ancestors. And so that is my book, Divine Reflections at the Crossroads. It's available on Amazon. Also, if you get the book and you're interested in purchasing my brother's art, you can go to markmilliganart.com. He's an amazing, amazing artist based in Hawaii. So I wanted to also, of course, give him his due, recognize him as well here in this platform. So with that, I close. I want to again say thank you to everybody for being here. And again, it's a pleasure to share space with all of you wonderful beings and souls. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much for your insight as well, and sharing it within your book. So don't forget to put your details into the chat, how people can get hold of your book, and also how people, if they can, get in contact with you, because they might need a signed copy.
Thank you. I will do so. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Brother Ibrahim.
Hi, everyone.
Oh,
yeah,
that
I'm
is
here.
you. Okay, you didn't get to change. You didn't change your name, so it makes it hard for me to see because everybody's coming under Black Book Show, so I can't see who. All right, I'll change your name.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Ibrahim Olawale, and I'm the author of 2 books. First one being a chapbook. It's called The Prisoner of Love. It's just more of poetry about love and how people in love would always, what it feel, what it see, or what it feels being in love. Also, my second book, which I'm going to talk about mostly, is about the pandemic. It's called Living in a Void. It literally talks about how the pandemic affects and the lockdown affects our lives, basically. So it basically talks about what the experiences were during the pandemic, during COVID periods, during the pandemic. So it talks about the lockdown, how it affects our mental health, how it affects the family, how it affects our love life, and how it affects us as a people, as countries, and the economy, and the global economy, basically. So that's what mostly the book is about. It really talks about how it affected the human world, and also it talks about how how the essence or how we live through the essence of boredomness and loneliness, and how we can now live to maximize all of those as well as human. So he discussed about the book also lay emphasis on based on how being lonely or how the pandemic has affected the mental health of people. How we moved from what the norms used to be before into a new normal where people have to work remotely or will have to wear face masks. It literally talks about the bad experiences of how people lost their lives to something that we probably cannot till now maybe define the cause of it. So that's what the book is about. So it talks about how the virus was traced out. The first outbreak came out in China, and also, it's also talk about the various steps each government of the world took in trying to contain and also try to maximize productivity and creativity within the lockdown period, and how humans or people were able to live with themselves, how they were able to find themselves, how they were able to know themselves better, how our family, our relationship felt. The positive and the negative impact of the lockdown with families, or between families, between loved ones, how we're able to cope with the stress of being together in a particular space, or how they also enjoyed the company of being together within a space during the lockdown. So yeah, it talks about the economic crisis of the world, how people were laid off, and how people saw opportunities during the lockdown to get employed, and also to start new or to spring up new businesses that have made a lot of income and affected a lot of people in terms of employment, and how new products came up, just like the platform we're using now, Zoom, Netflix, how they became prominent within the industry. So it talks about the new normal and how we've been able to, adapt to new things that we've learned. Also, the reasons behind writing all of this down is just to also be able to tell the story to generations to come, to understand what it felt like or how we actually felt like during the pandemic. Yeah, these books are available on Amazon. It's easily purchased over there. And then I'm going to leave my email or my contact details on the chat group, just so I can be reached at any time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have you got a picture of your book you can show us?
Yeah, I'm going to share in the link now. I'm going to share the pictures of the book on the chat group quickly.
Okay, wonderful. And as I said, don't forget to put in where we can get it, your book. Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Is there any other place that we can purchase your book?
No, mostly on Amazon for now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Amazon for now.
Whereabouts are you based?
I'm based in the UK.
Oh, based in the UK. Okay, yeah. So you can do events and things so that...
yeah, please.
Okay, brilliant. I'm going to put a call out for those who'd like to publish or produce your book or have a place to sign your book. I mean, I do have an event on the 18th of December, so I can put those details out afterwards.
Okay,
So
that'd be lovely.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, and we've just said, don't put your details into the chat, and now we're going to move on to is it Bharti Dhir? Please forgive me if I pronounced your name incorrectly.
Hi, Auntie Jean. My name is Bharti Dhir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you very much for the honor of inviting me to you and to Makonnen as well. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm always grateful. I come nearly every month, but whenever I come, I always hear the most amazing authors, and then I think, how am I going to follow that on? So, I hope you can all hear me and you can see me. So I just want to start by just saying that my book is called Worth. And I don't know if you can see the picture, but it's about, essentially, it's about experiences in our lives that bring up our sense of worth, and then experiences that bring them down. So very much along the themes of Marcia and Shurvone and other authors who are talking about self-esteem issues and how how I essentially reclaimed my sense of worth. So just to say a bit about myself, for those of you who do not know, I am of African and Asian heritage. And when I was born, I was found on the roadside in Kabale in Uganda. And initially, the newspaper said I was an Asian child. And so Asians started coming forward to adopt me. But when they found out I was half African, then they sort of melted away. And I eventually did get adopted, and I got adopted by a Punjabi Sikh family. And I just wanted to talk about my sense of worth and how it was affected by various things that happened in my life. So the type of things I'm talking about are, first of all, the whole issue of illegitimacy. I think one of the authors spoke about that, her book was also about being illegitimate, and the prejudice that surrounded the whole theme of illegitimacy. And growing up with messages about how I would bring dishonor on my family by having an illegitimate child myself. And, the sort of the violence of dishonor, that thought, that risk of dishonor. And, the culture I came from and the community I was brought up in. And I know it's not dissimilar to African communities or African Caribbean communities, that there is this great issue of honor being placed on girls about respect, not having a baby out of wedlock. And, growing up in the 70s and 80s, listening to girls, my friends who'd had babies or who were pregnant and what they went through, and they were, the way they were vilified. So, when you're a child and you grow up hearing messages that you're illegitimate and what it might mean to your family to have adopted you, this illegitimate child who might eventually bring great dishonor upon them, it's a hard and difficult pressure to bear. So my book covers the theme of illegitimacy. It covers the theme of adoption. So, as I've said, I was half African, half Asian, placed in an Asian family. And, the sort of messages my parents heard were messages such as, why are you adopting an African child? Why, people are going to think, saying to my father, my adoptive father, people are going to think you've had an affair with an African woman. Saying to my mum, even though she was pregnant at the time, people are going to think you've had an affair with an African guy. And so there were these sort of real negative messages around the whole issue of adoption. And I couldn't make sense of it as a child until I sneaked into my father's study and found a file with my name on it and realized that I was actually adopted, when all along I'd been told I wasn't adopted. And no, they never use the word adopted. They basically said, my father used to say, oh, you look like me. And my mother used to say to my siblings, oh, you look like me, and my sister, and so, as a child, I had no reason to suspect anything different. And so, when I found out I was adopted, it was a shock. So my book covers the whole theme of adoption, the secrecy of adoption, and the sort of messages that people think a child cannot hear, but a child eventually does make sense of those messages. My book also covers the theme of illness, because when I was younger, I developed a illness called epidermolysis bullosa, and it's called EB for short, and basically your skin blisters up in the sun. So at that time in the 60s, it was a very, very rare occurrence, and being black and then having blisters all over, so that brought its own set of problems in the sense of being shunned by my peers, being shunned by various families. And so having to grow up with that sort of visible, I would call it visible condition. And then later on getting lupus and having an invisible condition, and the things that come along with that. So my book covers the theme of illnesses, the visible and the invisible disabilities. It covers the whole issue of illegitimacy. It covers the issue of colorism. All my life, and I said this in my book, that I was lost. I compared myself so much, particularly when I came to the UK. I compared myself to Western and Eastern ideas of beauty, and I found myself wanting and, thinking I was not pretty, thinking I was really ugly because of my color, because of my facial features. People used to say, oh, if you straighten your hair, you look so much nicer. If you had a bit of a narrower nose, have you considered nose surgery because your nose is so thick? And things like that, they really affect a child's self-esteem and self-worth. I'm pleased to say that I'm now at that stage. I mean, look, I'm in my 60s now, so I don't care. But, my book is generally about my journey of that lack of self-worth and actually coming through all of that and actually finding myself and reclaiming my worth and being proud of who I am a Black African Asian woman. I am proud of the fact that, yes, I was adopted. I'm not, you know, that's not an issue for me. It was when I was a teenager, but I am, you know, I have overcome the prejudices. I've overcome the resistance. I've overcome.
Sorry to interrupt, just letting you know you got 3 more minutes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I've overcome the sort of negative stereotypes that people put upon people. And so my book is called Worth because I've adopted my own child, and I really wanted her to know that it doesn't matter that if you have the most unfortunate of beginnings and the most unfortunate of experiences, but you are a worthy human being who has a right and a purpose to be here on earth. And, you know, never let people put you down. So essentially, I wanted to give that empowering message to my daughter, but I hope through my book, it will now go out into the world and give that empowering message to men and women, girls and boys who are going through difficulties in life through any experiences that they're having, to know that any experience they have is temporary, and they will come through that tunnel and they will see the light and they will reclaim their worth. So as I said, my book is available. It's available in Amazon. It's also in the UK, it's available in Waterstones, and it's available in other sort of bookshops like WH Smith, although WH Smith don't stock it. You can get it online. And it's also available in the USA, I gather, and Canada, and abroad as well. And I'm sorry, I don't know the names of the bookshops abroad. So I really do hope you'll pick up my book, Reclaim Your Worth. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and I hope everybody will reclaim their worth. So don't forget to put your details into the chat. And if anybody else would like to, you know, if you've got any details, the email address that you'd like people to contact you via, then please do also add that to your details to the chat. And we're going to move swiftly on now. You okay? Sorry.
I said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Move swiftly on to David Sinclair. I saw you earlier. I see you there. Hi, David.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Makonnen, for inviting me on the show to spread the knowledge. So it's Dee Sinclair, and my book is Rape, A Man's Point of View. So that's Rape, A Man's Point of View. Now, it's a very touchy subject, really, touchy title, but it's not to disrespect a woman's point of view. It's more to be part of the conversation from a man's perspective. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the cover of the book, and then I'll go to the back of the book where I can talk to you and read a paragraph on the back of the book. So if I can show you this book here, that's the front cover of the book, and it's got the red hand of danger, which is a man. Surrounded by that is the female symbol, and together, specifically like they are there, it makes a lot more sense the way it is once you get to the back chapter of the book. What I'm going to do is just the bottom there is just balancing the male and the female energies. Little balance there. Balance is quite important. And on the back of the book, I've got a little diagram at the top there, which I'll tell you more about. But I'm just going to read you this little caption at the bottom here. And it goes like, why a man's point of view? I hear you ask. Well, spiritual logic says if a woman believes her trauma started with a man, then psychologically her mind may need it to end with a man too. Whilst women are always going to be the best form of support for another woman, as there's safety in numbers, spiritual logic may require she needs answers that only a man can provide if she believes it started with a man. And her mind is still screaming, why, or why me? So the thing is, is she going to get answers she needs from a man? That's the question, because men tend not to speak. The reason men, I think, don't speak is because, well, they don't speak in an authentic way anyway. They don't speak in an authentic way because if they're going to speak to another man in an authentic way, and they're trying to befriend that man, they're probably worried that they're going to put him off, because men are not used to speaking in that way to each other. So you might think maybe you can speak to a friend, but then not every man has got a friend they can speak to in that manner. So, and when they've tried before, it's possible that that friend of theirs may have turned it into a joke, which made them uncomfortable about talking about their feelings. So they don't talk to men, and they don't talk to women either, especially if they say attracted to a woman. They're definitely not going to bring out their inner feelings for fear of scaring her off. It's possible that they could speak to a female partner, say if they've got a girlfriend or wife, but then society kind of tells men, you're supposed to be the strong one. You're supposed to be the one in control. You're supposed to be the one that solves the problems, not brings the problems. So therefore, you kind of get men not speaking to any, men or women. So what do men actually do with these negative feelings they have inside? Quite a lot of men have this sort of confident facade on the outside, but inside they've got this kind of like negativity bubbling away. And if it kind of builds up inside, it can actually take some men to the point of suicide. Or if it comes out, men, well, we see what happens when men spill out their negativity in society. It can go bad and hurt both men and women in society. So it could be that the missing link could be, to solve the problem, men's feelings. But the way society tends to deal with bad men is to increase sentences, maybe make them a bit harsher. But then when we look at places like America, you've got the death sentence. But then you still see men walking on their way through life to the path of the death sentence by making wrong decisions. So it looks like the death sentence doesn't really work as the harshest punishment you can get. And over here in the UK, we've come up with another solution for solving the problems of men, especially when it comes to women. What we're tending to do is we're bringing out these adverts on TV, which tell men how to behave, or should I say, tell men to tell their friends how to behave if their friends are behaving badly toward other women in public. So that's kind of embarrass your friend, so he's more likely to behave himself. But the problem there is, if the solution is not dealing with where the problem actually comes from, so he's not dealing with the man's feelings, it has a potential to then make things worse for women if it turns men even worse than what they are. So if the solutions that we come up with destabilize a man's mind to make him more unstable mentally, that's likely to have a bad effect on women. So I think we need to kind of find the right solution, a more balanced sort of holistic solution that could be to do with understanding men's feelings. So with that in mind, I've got this little diagram on the back here. It starts off with awareness, and then it goes to understanding, and then you've got compassion on the other side there. So if men don't speak to women, men don't speak to men, and society is made up of men and women, then it's foreseeable that society doesn't really understand men's feelings. So if we could bring an awareness maybe to men's feelings, then maybe we could get an understanding of men's feelings. Now, if we got an understanding, it's possible that we can actually gain some compassion. With compassion, we can actually find a solution to what we now understand, which has come from an awareness. It's better than just plucking solutions out of the sky, such as TV adverts and maybe, harsher sentences, which could actually make things worse for women, I think. So that's the awareness of men's feelings part of the book. It's one of the solutions I've got to this problem between men and women, and men and men. The second solution I've got is wants and needs. Wants and needs, when put together, can be quite a spiritual concept. And how do we explain wants and needs now? Well, you get up in the morning, to when you go to bed at night, everything you do, everything you think about, and everything you say is to do with a want or a need. So we're basically made up of wants and needs. Now, if you could understand yourself better from the point of view of wants and needs, could it be that you'd make better decisions in life? If you could separate the two, maybe sometimes concentrate on the needs instead of the wants. But why are we not so good at doing that? Well, when we're children, we're kind of surrounded by stimuli coming from everywhere. We've got the TV set, radio, friends, family. When we go to school, on our way to school, we probably look up at billboards. These days, they've got lights, videos running. A lot of this is telling us what we want. Not much of it is what we need. So when we get older, it's kind of understandable. It's difficult to differentiate between your wants and your needs. But some people might say, well, I know myself pretty well because I know when I'm angry, I know when I'm sad, I know when I'm, frustrated. So I know myself pretty well. But how well do you know yourself under the concept of wants and needs? You might say, well, I know what I want and I know what I need. But then do you know yourself, what you want and what you need when emotions are involved? When you're angry, when you're sad, when you're in an intimate relationship, when you've got a craving. Let's say you go to a restaurant, beautiful meal on that menu, huge calories, but you know it tastes nice and you know it's going to smell nice. And you're definitely hungry, so you need something to eat. But do you need that particular meal or do you want it? And after you've had that, do you need that dessert full of high calories or do you want it? So when our emotions are involved, it's a bit harder to separate the wants from the needs. So if we could do that, and it would make us better at decision making in life, how would we go about actually getting people to do that? Well, in my book, I kind of introduce this exercise where you can actually just list all your daily activities. Maybe do it over the day, do it over the week, over the month. And then by the side of each activity, you just put down the side effects of each activity. If it's a positive effect, give it a green star. Negative effect, give it a red star. So over time, you've got quite a lot of colours there. Now, I would say that's probably a plan for life. But why would I say that? Well, I say that because if you have been honest about how you've plotted that, you probably get a lot of reds and not a heck of a lot of greens. So if you want to make a more balanced life, surely you just basically replace some of those activities that are giving you red stars, negative results, with those that are giving you the green stars. So you get a more balanced life. You're better at planning things. You're probably happier for the sake of doing that. And you're kind of better at making decisions in life. Now, if that works for you, you don't have to keep writing those things down. Eventually, it becomes second nature. But once you become good at it, obviously, you can pass that down to your children. You can simplify those kind of exercises so that your kids can become better at decision making too. So by the time they become teenagers, they're probably quite good at making decisions. And so I would say you're probably thinking, well, what's that got to do with rape and abuse? Well, like I said, everything you do, everything you say, everything you think about has got something to do with wants and needs, even rape and abuse. So if that guy that actually raped that girl at some point in time was better at understanding his wants and his needs and separating the two, would he have still taken that path to what he actually did, where he lost his balance? Because let's face it, rape is where a guy loses his balance. That's the only reason it happens. And could he have concentrated more on his needs than avoided some of his wants? Maybe he'd have taken a different path. Now with the girl, if she had made some risky decisions in life, which had taken her to the point of where she met this guy, and those risky decisions represented her wants more than her needs, could she have concentrated, if she knew herself better, on her wants instead of her needs? And then maybe taken a different path in life. So you've got two solutions to the problem there. You've got the understanding of the awareness of men's feelings, but you've also got the wants and the needs. You can actually put them together to create a stronger solution. Now, the last part of this is the final chapter of my book. Now, the final solution here, which can be added to the other two solutions, is, well, it's a solution I don't think has probably been around for probably thousands of years, really, because I've not heard of anybody talk about this. But it's a solution that I think women would like once they've gotten used to it, ultimately. And I think men would definitely benefit from it too. But you do have to read the book all the way through to actually understand it. You can't really understand it from reading different chapters. It kind of makes sense once you read the whole thing. But my book, Rape, A Man's Point of View, you can buy on Amazon.com or Amazon.co.uk. And yeah, thanks for listening to me.
Thank you so much, David. As I said, I'd like to get into what inspired you to actually write the book, and I know that you did touch on it, but somebody did put in the chat, who's your targeted audience to read the book?
I'd say probably 60% women is probably my target, but there's a lot in there for men as well. Because like I said, in the final chapter, there's a lot women will take from that, which gives them a kind of status that they probably appreciate, but it would take some getting used to. A lot of this is cryptic because it's hard to describe the whole thing. Once you've read it, you kind of understand it a lot more. But men will get a lot from this too, because there's a lot to do with the incel community written in the book, which I haven't really gone into, but that's another subject, but it links into this.
Okay.
And it's teaching them what to do and how to not become incels, so to speak. Which is
so is it like a warning kind of thing for women, to things to watch out for?
It's partly to do with that. As part of the book is watching out for types of situations where you can, get into a dangerous situation. And then it's kind of guidance where in other parts, it's a mix of awareness of current things going on, which you're probably not aware of, but a lot of it's to do with men's feelings and understanding men. Because there's a lot of me in this book, which I kind of tell stories and tell of my previous experiences, and I bring my feelings into that because I think it's important for people to understand men's feelings, because I think it's a missing link in all of this.
Yeah.
Because no matter what's happening out there, if it's bad to men or it's bad to women, and men are causing this, it's to do with a man's feelings. But we're kind of ignoring that in society quite a lot, I think. So going to where it comes from and dealing with it from there, you probably get a lot more solutions that come to light, which are better than just harsher sentences, which will not do anything for people, or embarrassing friends, which again is ignoring men's feelings.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'd like to know a little bit more in depth. Probably I'll put out my telephone number, my contact details, so those, not just only yourself, but those who would like to elaborate a bit more on their journey of their book, they, I can give them a slot on the African Culture Market, the show, or even the Garvey Village. So please do get in contact with me when I leave my details. And please put your details into the chat, how people can get hold of you, and also how can people get hold of your book. If there's more than one outlet, and then please do put that into the chat. Thank you. And look out for questions that people may have put in the chat, so you can give them answers. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we move on now to Nicole. Nicole Blake, are you there?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi. Hi,
good
Nicole.
evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Right. I thought you were going to ask
me to introduce yourself.
So I'm waiting on you to say something. All right, guys. Good evening. So I'm Nicole Blake, and I'm an author, and I've written 3 books. But I think the key one that I'm speaking on today is this one, The Good Parent and the Happy Child. Yeah, can you see? Yeah, so that's my book. So this book is, as it says, it's a guide for parents, caregivers, and early year consultant. So this book is about parenting. So the strategies, solutions that parents can use. Some it can be for first-time moms who if they were anything like me, they started out with having questions about parenting. They come out of hospital, half the time not knowing what to do. You have the baby and the next day you're sent home and you have no idea what is expected of you. All you know that you are responsible for another child. So it talks about healthy eating, it talks about sleeping, it talks about your well-being as a mother as well, making sure you have some self-time for yourself instead of just all the time looking after the baby, doing all the chores in the house, making sure the house is spick and span. It's about, setting aside time to care for your body so that you are better equipped to look after the baby. So the book is it talks about understanding child development. How does a child develop? The stages of development that a child goes through, that is talked about on chapter 3. Chapter 4 is about being an effective parent. And when we talk about effective parent, it's not just about you, a parent that provides a meal or a roof for a child, but it's about communicating with your child, being supportive, being consistent, setting boundaries. We talk about having morals, teaching your child morals, teaching your child simple well-being things. So all these things in my book, I talk about being a fussy eater. So sometimes we have children who doesn't like to eat certain things, especially if you have a child who's a SEN child and they don't like, in most cases, SEN children don't like food touching on their plate, or they only like eating certain colored food, or they don't like anything that is soft. It all depends on where the child is on the spectrum. So we talk about children on the spectrum, how to support your child who's on the spectrum. It talks about children who have speech delay. How do you communicate with your child? Signs to look out for if you are a parent and your child is between the age of 3, 4 and is not speaking. Because normally a child at the age of 2 should be able to speak at least 500 words. If your child is not saying words, cannot make simple sentence, cannot respond to a simple command or instruction, what to do, and even if you're waiting for a diagnosis for your child, the simple things that you can do with your child in that meantime to develop their communication, to get them to talk and stuff like that. So that's what my book is about. Reasons for writing this book. I am a social worker, I'm a nursing manager, but when we had COVID and we had to close the nursery, what I found was that a lot of parents, because they had relied so much on the support that they get at nursery, they weren't coping at home with the children. So therefore, I had lots of parents reaching out to me, wanting to know, Miss Nicole, what do I do? They're not doing this, I can't get the child to do this. And so as a result of that, I've written this book. And so it is on the market. It's been out since May of this year. I had my book launch, and it is on Amazon. It is also on my personal website, and I do sell a lot of them in Walmart in the US. It's in Waterstone as well. And so that's mainly what this book is about. So this is one. As a result of that, I now do parent coaching sessions for parents who want coaching around behavior, bedtime routines, and stuff like that. So that's what my book is about. It's a simple read. It's quite easy to read, and it just tells you simple things to do. Technology, it talks about technology with children, how much time children should be spending on their iPads, on their phone, the effect of the use of giving children too much TV time, too much technology time, how to limit snack time, giving children, how to give children the right portion of food. So child portion, look at child portion, what's a child's portion in comparison to an adult portion. And as a result of using child portion to cut down on obesity and children health. It talks about outdoor play. So chapter 7 is about how much is health. It talks about our health, the child's health. At what stage, at what time should you start teaching your child to brush their teeth, or you introduce teeth brushing to your child so that they know to brush their teeth. So it's really a book for parents, just to support them to know things that they can do. The feedback I've had from parents is that they've been using the book and they find it useful. And so that's probably my 10 minutes right there. So my book is on Amazon. It's also on my personal website. I also sell a lot of the books. And I do speaking engagement. And when I go to speaking engagement, I have opportunity to sell the book. So I've been doing that as well. And also, as a result of that, I'm also doing parent coaching, as I said, so parents who need support. And so I've now launched the book out on the open market. And that's me.
That's wonderful. Could you place the book up so that we can see it, please, properly, and then have a look at some of the pages inside?
Can you see it?
Yes.
You can see
I need to
book.
spotlight you because when I speak, the spotlight comes off from you. So let me just spotlight you, and then please do show the book.
Okay, there you go. Yes, you got me now. So that's the book. Let me go to the page. I've got a good feedback from Terence Wallen, which is a good friend of you guys.
Is it
Yes, so
possible to hold the book up a little bit?
like that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to let me see if I can go to the thing about page. There you go. So that's like the context page.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that? Yeah.
Yes, we can vaguely see that, but this is a very good guide to parents, because a lot of parents do need guidance, especially coming out of the lockdown and the COVID situation for the last 2 years. So we
Yes.
have a lot of COVID children that's, they're growing. Is not unlike any other child from previous years.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest. This is where I get more of my parents, because coming out of COVID, a lot of children are not speaking. I'm working now with a lot of children who are speech delay because of COVID. Most of them either born in the COVID or went in as a year-old, and so they have in that 2 years or just about under 2 years when they were home with parents. There was not much communication. This was mostly around watching the TV. And so the communication didn't happen. And so as a result, now we have a lot of speech delay. So 90% of my clients right now are parents who have children with speech delay. So it's more about me bringing the communication, doing chatterbox, doing one-to-one with parents. I'm giving them strategy of what to do with their child so as to get them speaking. So a lot of them are waiting for speech diagnosis or to be seen by the speech and language. So I actually done my course on speech and language. So I teach people how to do that as well. And I go around and do that as part of my key speaker program as well.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. And it's a very, very valuable work that you're actually doing, because as I said, there's a lot of COVID children out there, and they do have the problems as you have mentioned. Thank you. Would you like to put your details into the chat, how people get hold of you? Whereabouts are you based?
I'm in London.
You're in London. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
I'll also put my details into the chat. I do have an event coming up on the 18th of December in Southeast London, and it's a monthly event of the Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. And as I said, the book authors are invited to come down with their books so they can actually do some book signing. So please do contact me via 07961 886-032. I shall repeat, and I shall also put it into the chat. 07961 961 886 032. Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Makonnen, are you there?
My microphone was on mute. Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes, we can hear you. Oh, sorry, just take the spotlight.
No way. So we're just gonna wrap things up now. So yeah, I just want to thank everyone, all the authors that have spoke on the Black Book Show. I think it's been another Black Book Show again this evening, and I'm looking forward to the Black Book Show. The next one is going to be on Sunday, the 11th of December, just a couple of weeks' time, because of Christmas being on the 25th and another engagement on the 18th. This time it will be done in just a 2 weeks turnaround. So please join us again for the Black Book Show at Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. If you're an author that would like to feature on one of the upcoming Black Book Show virtual book tours or one of my radio show and podcasts. I also do radio show and podcasts. Nicole Blake, the last speaker, and several of the other speakers that was on the show earlier, I've also featured on my radio show and podcast. So yeah, reach out to me at info@blackbookshows.com. Other than that, please also join the Facebook group. The Facebook group is just the Black Book Shows. Just put that in on the Facebook. There will be a recording of this event circulated as well. So look out for the recording of the event. Details will be in that Black Book Show Facebook group. So I'm just going to close off the Black Book Show in a moment. I just want to say, Auntie Jean, is there any last words that you've got before we close the show this evening?
No, I think the Black Book Show was absolutely amazing. All the authors, as I said, I hope all of their books that sell out. I want to get all of their books as well. And also I'd like to invite them to come onto the platform. So if they want to elaborate on their journey, their story, they can do, or come down to one of the markets and bring their books. Please do. I'll put my contact details in the chat for those who's away or in different countries. I'll put the +44, so you can give me a call or give me a text or a message, and you can come onto one of the platforms if you'd like to elaborate. But thank you very much for everybody who's come onto the platform. Thank you to all the authors, and thank you, Makonnen. Thank you.